Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a great Sunday. Fantastic Sunday. What's happening, Ryan? Welcome to the AV Experience Podcast.
I'm full.
What's going on, man?
I ate way too much food. Well, from Thursday, we had a couple Thanksgivings. Then Friday, we had another one. And then Saturday, I think we had another one. So it was just, I'm tired of ham and turkey.
Dude, I can eat ham and turkey. I can eat ham every single day of my life.
Well,
like I legit love ham.
I'm not a huge fan of like that kind of ham. I mean, I like bacon, but I'm not a huge fan of that kind of ham. I'd rather have turkey dipped in mashed potatoes with gravy on it.
I like that too.
Then I get the tryptophan and I'm going to fall asleep. Then I eat more. And then that just makes the problem worse.
Love it, man.
How was your Thanksgiving, though? Sounds like you didn't eat too much.
I ate quite a bit. I really did. Yeah. So we had Thanksgiving at our home because my sister, they're selling their house. They bought like
exciting.
15, 20 acres. And so all of their family, like their 4 children, at least 3 of them are going to live, they'll have a place on there, and one may choose to kind of live somewhere else, but so they're working on permits and everything. So they're staying with let's see, that'd be my brother-in-law's mom and dad right now, temporarily.
Took you long enough. God. Just shows up late.
He said, I think Jonathan forgot.
No, I didn't forget. I was trying to figure out how to make this GoPro work, and I don't think I got it
that's right. Let's see what you got here, man.
It's all like it's not right. I got to figure out how to like zoom in or something, because it's doing that whole wide perspective.
Yeah. So typically, you got a new one?
Yeah, I got a 12 on the Black Friday sale stuff.
Nice.
Super cool. I was over at his house yesterday, and he was smacking me with it. Like, what's this? What's this?
So you probably could even go into the GoPro app and change it. Like,
well, that's what I did, and this is the narrowest mode of the 4 options they give you.
Oh,
as a webcam, but it's only doing 1080p as a webcam too. So I don't know. There might be some more things I have to play with to figure it out. Ryan and I were trying to watch Trimmer 7 right before the podcast. We only got about an hour in, and I was like, I got a break because I didn't hook up this webcam yet. I guess if I can make it work.
StreamYard will only let us do 1080p anyway, so you're good.
Oh, okay.
You won't be able to get 4K out of that.
No.
So, but yeah, man, Thanksgiving was good, and had family over, and so I know this means nothing to you guys, but that is a marriage license. So
you got married?
No.
Officiated one. I saw.
I performed the ceremony. So one of my students from when I was a student pastor, he had been in our ministry since like 7th grade. So I've known this kid for a long time. Super great dude. And so he and his now wife are married, and they're heading on their honeymoon. They're going to do like a week-long cruise. And then in January, they're moving to Alaska.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What a way to start.
Yeah, man. Super excited for them. Both of them, they've spent like several summers in Alaska doing like missions work. So it's kind of home for them, but that's where they're headed. So yeah, man. So let's say I have some folks in the chat. See who's here. SRW 1000. Good to see you. Tyler, at Chris, Nicholas, JR, Rich, Reginald, Tarhoya, Brian. What's up, buddy? Got some folks from Singapore. What's going on, Howard? Good to see you, bud. Nicholas says, turkey ham rolling coming out the other end. Oh, my God.
Oh,
yeah, that's TMI, brother. Sunny Skies, Medieval. Good to see you guys. Claude, what is up, man? Claude. We're going to be hanging out pretty soon, man. I'm super excited about that.
You may regret that, especially you on the ski bike.
Dude, I'm not doing the ski bike.
Honestly, you talked up a huge game.
I would do a ski bike easily. It looks awesome.
He'd die.
Let me know in the chat if you guys have ever heard of a ski bike. It's like, there's 2 versions of it that I've seen. I just found out about this a couple days ago. We had my brother-in-law here staying with us for a couple days, and somehow we got on the subject of the ski bike, and he's like, you ever seen one of those? I'm like, what is that? So I pull it up on YouTube, and it's literally, it's a bicycle, handlebars, you got a seat, and then there's 2 kind of like skis, one in front, one in back. And the one that he said he rode, it was like kind of like a tricycle. So there's 1 in front and then 2 in the back, makes it more stable. But dude, the 2 looks awesome, man. That would be super fun. I'm willing to try just about anything once.
I exceed the weight limit.
Yeah.
Then I do too.
Yeah,
I'll
it
probably
would
do it.
it would have been. I told you I wouldn't be caught dead on one of those things, mainly because I'd be riding it and then it would just disintegrate underneath me. That's what would end up happening. It'd be one of those like comedy sketches where I'm going down the hill and the thing just starts falling apart, and then by the end of the hill, I'm just on my ass all the way down.
So I can see me literally doing a Superman over the front handlebars, like just hitting it hardcore and like, I don't know, just messing
He doesn't
up.
mean Superman as far as doing something really cool. He means
No, like face
wreck.
planting.
Yeah.
Over the handlebars.
Yeah.
So Bruce, he says, kind of like skis. They are skis. So the reason why I say kind of like it is because they're actually they look wider than skis. So it's almost in between two small snowboards and a wider ski. So that's why I said kind of like skis. So ski bikes will be next. Heck yeah, man.
But why would I want an electric ski bike?
Yeah, that
maybe
would be
to go up the hill?
I don't know. Or go faster.
That's a new game, like for Frogger going up the hill while everybody's coming down the hill.
I love it, man. Scott, what is up, brother? Coming in with a $5 super chat. My favorite place to hang out on a Sunday night. You guys rock. Appreciate you, man. So I've been super busy. I got to get back on your podcast, not like as a guest, hanging out in the chat. You guys are killing it, you and Kat. And then Scott's been doing his own thing like every Friday night. So actually, I am going to be a guest, right? Yeah, I think I am in another couple of weeks. So
I did it. It was a good time.
You guys know.
He had me on before you.
He
likes me more.
That's okay. I don't mind. He liked you more. So,
Jonathan, where are your subs?
Man, there's been a lot of comments on that in there.
Yeah.
Ryan made me tear up my room yesterday. That's why.
Those are Jonathan's new permanent sub positions.
Man,
wait, I might be able to get a wide angle. Let me see if this will work like this. Lens mode. How about wide? Does that switch on this?
Not yet.
There you
go. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I might need to go one more even.
Yeah, man, go super wide.
All right, here's super wide. Then you'll be able to see the whole thing.
Dude, I can see your front yard now. That's awesome.
It rounds out my gut a little bit.
Stretches the middle, man.
No, I did that on my own. I didn't need the camera. So yeah, normally you guys know we have the ARC. There's been a bunch of people talking about that in the comments. But we did a Trinoff versus Dirac comparison yesterday with two nice processors. And so in order to kind of keep it level playing field, we only used 4 ceiling tops and we used 2 banks of 2 subs on left and right of the screen to kind of more mimic what maybe a more typical configuration would be and let the processors have a little bit more chance to fine tune the bass. And I'll kind of default to Ryan how much we talk about that tonight, because I know it was kind of a closed comparison, but
we're not really going to talk about it at all yet.
Some pretty firm conclusions from this room.
I need to have some more time to play with it.
Sure.
More.
And the caveats would all extend to the fact that this is one room with one set of speakers and one set of sub configurations and all those little caveats in there.
Yeah. But Jonathan, turn it down, man. That was way too loud.
That was out of control. So, go ahead. You got to tell that story.
So what ended up happening when we first started, Jonathan and I were there just on our own for most of the day. And when we first started and got the first processor configured, I know Jonathan likes it loud. I like it loud. And we were playing some music. Do you remember what the track was?
Yeah, it was Audio Slave.
Yeah.
What was the name of the track?
I don't even remember, but
Show Me How to Live, right?
Maybe.
Yes.
I couldn't tell you because it didn't matter at that point. It all went out the window. So I'm watching the volume. We start at like -20, and the volume really doesn't matter because it doesn't correlate to anything in this. So it wasn't like -20 below reference. That doesn't mean anything. And I'm watching the volume as we turn on the music, and it just keeps going up. Like, not rapidly. It's just up 2 dB, up 2 dB, up 2 dB, up 2 dB.
Like we're going 10 dB at a time.
We hit like -5, and I'm like, this is really loud. I'm going to turn it down. And I turn it down, and then it goes up again. We go to 0, and I turn it down again, and then it goes up again. And I'm like, okay, well, Jonathan must be changing the volume. And because it just kept going up. So I'm thinking he's changing the volume. And then
Meanwhile, I'm looking over at Ryan thinking, man, he likes this loud. This is the loudest I think I've ever had in my system in my room.
And I just look at Jonathan and go, this is really loud. Like I yell this, and this is only 2-channel with the subs. And I'm like, this is really loud. And then he yells back, I thought you were doing it. And I say, I thought you were doing it.
Oh my goodness.
And so we went back and measured it. We were approaching 140 dB in the room.
It was nuts. It was super nuts.
It was so loud.
So I had the Apple remote and he had the keyboard and mouse doing the web interface on this was the Dirac, the Storm unit at that time, right?
Yes.
And we both were holding it and we were both, I think I had clicked down a couple times like, I can't do this, Ryan. This is too much for me. And Ryan was clicking down. And we're both looking at each other like, what is
wrong with you? Like, why are we this loud? Thinking that it was each other that kept pushing the volume up. And it wasn't either of us. It was, and we figured out that it was the Apple TV remote.
Yeah.
Oh,
and I talked to somebody today, and he said that the Apple TV remote doesn't even broadcast IR.
I think it does because I found some other people that had that same problem online, and there's a fix for it, and I haven't had a chance to test it, but you're supposed to hold the home button and the down button for 10 seconds, and it's supposed to reset the remote.
So what was ending up happening is on both of these processors, no matter, we couldn't figure it out for like, I was there for 14 hours yesterday. And we didn't figure this out until the last 30 minutes, what was causing this problem. And I would lower the volume and then it would go back up. And it was to the point that I thought it was just Jonathan picking up the remote, because every time he would pick up the remote,
if I just touched it, it seemed like
it would go up, and then I could pick it up and nothing would happen. And then Jonathan would pick it up and he immediately started having the problem again. Same thing. It just kept happening, and then it would go up and then I'd pull it down, then it'd go up and then I'd pull it down, then it'd go up and I pull it down.
But it would have spells where we would be fine for a while.
Yeah,
it would be okay and then we would be thinking, we're in the clear, we're okay, we're safe, and then all of a sudden it just like smashed
we unplugged all of the processors from the network. We changed the Wi-Fi SSID. We started unplugging everything,
all network connections except for just the processor,
everything,
still doing it, and we're like, what is happening? Bob came over. He's like, maybe it's an Internet thing. Like maybe some other device on the network is sending an HDMI IP command to it.
And then I finally took the remote and just hit it underneath the couch. No, Bob went up to the thing and he was standing behind you. And then you walked in front of it and it stopped.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, it has to be IR. And then you got up and it started happening again. So then we hit it underneath the couch and it went away.
It was really frustrating. We probably lost like an hour and a half to troubleshooting that.
Probably.
Of our day.
But something else funny that happened with the volume thing is when we went back to volume, like to actually put an SPL meter to figure out how loud it was, Bob was there at that point towards the end. And after we were done, he looked at both of us and goes, well, that wasn't that loud. And I'm just like,
that's funny, dude.
It was so loud that peak registration of like 135 or 136 was clipping.
Yeah.
The Omni mic couldn't even measure it, so it was louder than that. Oh, it was so loud. I was crying. I was laughing so hard when we figured that out. The Apple TV does have CEC, but we turned that off. I have no idea how that was happening. And then the other remote snafu is you walked by one of the units and just pushed power off in the Marantz unit.
Well, yeah, what the heck? I was just kind of like, I was just bored. I picked up my Marantz remote and I was hitting the power button and it started turning off was it the turn off of the Storm? It powered it down. You're like, what'd you do?
It was the Storm.
You had some voodoo going on in there, man.
We did.
I said that wasn't the Storm remote.
What do you mean you were bored?
Well, I was just waiting for the next thing to happen.
Oh, I was crying. I was laughing so hard. But we got to go through and do some more testing before we talk about any of the conclusions. But it was a good test. No. It was a good one. We need to revisit that. Maybe when my room's done, or we'll take him over to somebody else's house.
So you're gonna make him put it back together and then tear it apart again?
What?
To do that test?
To take what apart and put back together?
Like his subs and move them around.
Oh, yeah. That's the fun, is terrorizing Jonathan.
That's crazy.
And
so Jonathan, did you like put tape down there so you know where they're gonna go, or are you just gonna
imprints in the carpet?
I asked him that and he goes, no, they're imprinted into the carpet.
Yeah, they've been sitting there a long time.
That's funny, man. Oh my goodness, man. So was the family home?
Whoops.
Yeah, we didn't have any complaints that time. Maybe where they went out of the house, they went away at some point to shop. Maybe that was when that happened, when that volume went crazy, or were they here? I can't believe my wife.
They were there because that happened in the morning. That happened that happened on the Chernov, and that would have been.
My wife must have been outside or something, because she would have said something if she was in the house.
That must have been around like noon.
I really don't know if I've ever had my system that loud. That was so loud.
And it was 2 speakers. To those speakers' credit, I have to say, it was 2 speakers, and it was unpleasant, but it wasn't like what I would have expected being that loud and that much distortion.
I think it was unpleasant because it was ear bleeding loud.
Ryan, when I went upstairs after we were leaving, all I got from Megan was, "Hi, Ryan." That's all I got. And I just had to look at her and go, "I'm sorry."
Lovely comments are coming in. Really good.
Well, Jonathan intentionally rerouted the breaker to some place that he could tackle his wife if she came down to turn things off.
Don't do it. I love it, man. Yeah, most of the time, like in my system, like I don't go crazy nuts with it. I mean, I'll get close to reference or at reference, but I don't.
Yeah, but we weren't trying to do that.
No,
that was.
You had the poltergeist. Somebody said, where was that at? They said you had the poltergeist bass.
It was weird, but it was also very funny. Like, I'm gonna remember that forever. Oh, that was. I probably lost some hearing, but it was hilarious.
I will tell you, my ears have been ringing a little bit today. I don't know if yours have, but I have my tinnitus acting up a little bit because that was too much.
That's awesome.
The rest of the testing, we didn't do at a very high volume.
No.
So.
No, when we tried to get Bob when he came over, our game plan was to let Bob have the remote because we just hadn't even figured out what the problem was.
And then it didn't happen.
And then it didn't do it. And the second I touched it, it did it again.
Then it did it again. I swore he was like shocking it or had some like sweat trait. Bob thought it was the wireless chargers in his couch that was doing it, that short circuited the remote or something. I mean, it was bizarre. Couldn't figure it out. We did figure out that there's something going on with the Apple TVs because he has a problem where the remote will become unresponsive, and I have the same problem.
So when I bought the Apple TV, same thing. The remote like completely died. I tried all the tips and tricks to reboot it and all that stuff. Nothing worked. I reached out to them. They just sent me a new remote. They ended up sending me the wrong remote. I had problems with it. I guess that was a different model or whatever. He said, "Oh, we sent you the wrong one." So then they sent me the correct one, and I hadn't had any issues since. So
mine 2022 Apple TV, the newest version, it'll sometimes play like spatial audio and it'll just sort of lock up. It won't completely lock up. I can go back to the home screen, but nothing will play. Like little graphic equalizer in the corners acting like it's playing music, but nothing's actually playing. So I have to restart the device.
Same thing happens to me. So it's not I don't think it's the remote. I think it's a recent update that they've done, and it's
my 2021 version. The previous hardware version does not do it. It's just my 2022 version. It's true.
That's funny.
It's true.
Michael always looking on the positive.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, that was awesome that y'all.
My hearing's deteriorating. Great for you, Mike. For you, Jonathan.
It's permanently damaged. That's awesome.
Oh, that's great.
I'm just excited for them, man. They were having a good time, and that's the thing. It's like you guys know how to like have fun, and what I think a lot of our community would love to have that opportunity. They'd love to have the ability to get together with people that are local to them and hang out and do some testing and A/B comparisons and things like that. And we just don't get that opportunity. I mean, even myself, we're just now in Florida trying to kind of get that organized. And I've got a guy that's local to me, Casey, and he's looking into doing that and kind of heading that up so that we can begin to do this monthly and get together and hang out. But the vast majority of people don't have that. And that's a big reason why we created MWAVE, is we want to provide those opportunities and those experiences for you guys.
What a segue that was.
You like that?
Good.
Now for our segue.
I'm Slick Willie. So with that said,
Well, I was going to say that something else that I'd like to say is, if you're in a position that you don't have a group that does that kind of thing, one cool thing about the Kansas City group, at least a few of us, is that we are happy. And I won't speak for others. I'll speak for myself, but I know others will do this.
Sure,
we're happy to host people from out of town.
Yeah.
We want to share the space. Our wives think we're super weird, but nobody's been murdered yet. So that's a positive.
Sure.
But if anybody has any interest in seeing theaters or doing comparisons or doing things like this, the Kansas City group's usually pretty happy to host people from out of town.
Yes.
And it happens more than you may think.
Yeah,
just need to reach out. And the MWAVE Discord's a good place to do that. Share a bed? I mean, if you swing that way.
None of that here.
Sometimes it's just in the necessity of keeping warm, Jonathan.
Yeah.
You the inner spoon or the outer spoon, Ryan?
It just depends. Sometimes I like a jetpack.
Let's move on.
Okay.
No, man, they're starting to get some funky comments in here, man.
Well,
yeah. See what your audience really does.
I played sports for way too long. I'll say too much anyway, it's probably good to move on.
Yeah, man. So if you guys got questions, drop those in the chat. We'll be starring those, hit those just a second. Let me just give a little quick plug, because this coming up, what day would that be? December 1st. What day is that? That is on a Friday. So
it's a day.
This coming up Friday, we will have let me just pull it up real quick. Should already had it pulled up, but if you go to Midwest AV Experience, let me share my screen real quick. Go up to the top, attend home theater experiences. So we've got 8 of them this year. So Ryan's home, Jonathan's home, Ivan's home, Sheldon's home, Ryan Chirpy's home, which Chirpy, man, we got a lot of great feedback with him on the podcast when I was gone. So you guys had a great time. Stephen Dew, which is Scrappy Dew. You guys may know him. Kevin, and then also Brian. So we got 8 home theater experiences for VIP. So those tickets will be available at noon on December the 1st. So kind of be on the lookout for that. And I'm going to send out an email newsletter tomorrow with some additional details on that. So make sure you're subscribed to the newsletter, and you can get access to that at MidwestAVExperience.com. So we'd love to have you there. It's going to be an awesome show. 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, June 21st through the 23rd. And those VIP home theater experiences will take place the day before the show starts, which is on June 20th. That's on a Thursday. So there's basically 3 different time slots. There'll be an early morning, kind of a mid-afternoon, and then an early evening. And so you just pick and choose which time slot you want to go to, or maybe you want to do 1, 2, or even 3 of those time slots. There's a bunch of variety, a lot of different types of home theaters, different size home theaters. Some have maybe some things that you're interested. Maybe there's a certain projector you've been eyeballing and you want to see it in action in somebody's home. Maybe you're wanting to see what tactile transducers, or maybe you want to experience 21-inch or 24-inch or 18s in a home theater, something like that. And so there's just a wide variety. Let me turn my fan on.
Cristiano asks a good question. Is the experience package only for Thursday, or will be some on Friday morning?
Yeah, it'll be just Thursday. So here's the thing. Last year, all our VIP options, they were $200 each. They sold out in the first 5 hours. So this year we've got a lot more of them. So we may or may not sell out of them. But if they do sell out, especially super quick, we may reach out to the homeowners and see if they're interested in doing that Wednesday before. So that'd be 1 extra day, but there's no guarantee of that. So I would say just go ahead and get in on, if you're interested in any of them, 1, 2, or even 3 of them, make sure that you jump on that on December the 1st. There we go. I even had a little banner. December the 1st, because like I said, once they're gone, they may or may not, we may not have any more. So
and the other thing to consider is that there are only enough seats for the tickets for the number of seats in the theater.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So like in
some of them
Jonathan's
are going to be
case-
more selective than others.
Yeah. So Jonathan, you have 6 theater seats currently.
That's right.
I mean, they
So-
could double up in Jonathan's. No,
They
No
could,
spinning.
but I'm not going to make them do that.
Yeah, no spinning. So he'll have 6 tickets available in the early AM, 6 in the mid afternoon, and then 6 in the early evening. So,
but like
and
on
that'll
the
be it.
polar opposite of that, I will have 3.
Right. So Ryan will have 9 total that he can do. And I think Chirpy he's probably got the biggest theater room, right?
Yes.
I think he has 11.
Did he tell us last week, Ryan, how many seats he was going to put in there? I don't remember him saying that.
On the website, I think I have 11. Let me take a
He's
look.
in the chat. He'll probably
He's
pop.
doing 3 rows. It's 3 rows because he would have rather have done 2 rows of 5 instead of 3 rows of whatever he's doing.
Yes, on the website, and he'll probably
Ryan
get to
says 10.
Okay. And I've got, yep, that's exactly what we got on the website. So it's 10. So he can do up to 30 in his theater room. So as you can see, we've got a lot more opportunities for people to be able to experience these awesome home theaters. And so we're super excited about that. All right, man. Well, let's jump on into some questiones.
If you see me laughing, it's because I'm reading some of these comments. Some of them are hilarious.
What do they say? Put them up on the screen,
Like,
man.
this one's-
So
Towel
Towel
Sparrow game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if that's what you're into.
Yeah, man. So Cristiano, transportation is not provided. So that's something just on your own. One thing that we want to encourage people to do is join the Discord server. So you can get to that on the website, MidwestAVExperience.com. Go over to Get Connected, and there's a link to the Discord server. And so one thing I want to talk to Ryan about is maybe creating a space in that Discord for people that are in those home theater tours and those home theater experiences, so that maybe, I mean, you may want to figure out a way to carpool possibly, you know, so, but that'll just be literally up to you on how you want to do that. And I know I was talking to, who was it? I think it was Brian, and he was saying, you know, it would actually be kind of cool to get connected with some people, because one thing we're really trying with MWAVE is to build community and to help people get to know each other, so that's more than just an isolated event for you by yourself. We want to get you connected with some people. And one of the thoughts was, it would be great if, you know, maybe a handful of you decide to rent an Airbnb or something like that. You know, how cool would that be? You know, to connect with 5 or 6 other dudes and maybe even their wives or whatever, and y'all rent a Airbnb and just hang out and spend time together. So, but yeah, so definitely lots of great opportunities. So we're really excited about this year, and each year we're just going to try to continue to improve it for you guys. So we'd love to see you come out and hang out with us.
I made the Discord channels.
What's
called them Hotel, Airbnb, and Transportation. So if anybody wants to have discussions or is looking for anybody, join the Discord server, and we can you may be able to find somebody that is willing to share with you.
Yeah, I think it'd be awesome, man. With possible spooning, probably not, Chris.
Don't take away people's dreams. If somebody wants to share an experience, that's on them.
Yeah. All right, let's get on, man. It's going south real quick. All right, here we go. And of course, the first one is
whoa. We got to talk about Tremor 7.
What is that?
We got to talk about Tremor 7, or at least the first half of it.
All right, so you watched some of it. You didn't watch all of it, right? Okay.
It is the quintessential sequel to Predator and Jurassic Park combined.
With a B budget, or maybe even C+ budget.
I mean, some of the dialogue was great.
That's right.
Did anybody else in chat watch it? Or was it just Jonathan and I headlong into Shrieker Island?
We were doing Mystery Science 3000. Ryan and I were watching it and kind of commenting on some of the silliness of it. That's what we should do. Have our little like silhouettes and talk through one of those movies some night.
We should.
That'd be funny.
I think I'm surprised. What's his name? Bert has done all 7 of them.
I don't know if he has, because I've only seen like the first 4, and then we skipped to 7. I don't know. Was he in 5 and 6? I don't know.
I don't know. I've only seen 1 and 7. I haven't seen it in the middle once I jumped from 1 to 7, so I don't know.
We were talking about these different versions of the monster, and I know Ryan was like, "What? What did you say? What is that?"
And then you were talking about what were they?
Oh, I was trying to keep it G-rated.
I know, but what were you talking about?
Fart flyers, but there's
fart
another
flyers. And I was like, "What is that?"
in the comments. Bird is in all of them.
Oh, well,
Ryan looked him up. He made some good salary, I guess.
Yeah.
He's got $20 million or something.
He's worth like $6 to $12 million or something like that. So must love them. They're probably fun to do. You don't have to take it too seriously. But did anybody else watch it? Are we the only masochists in chat? Jonathan even
44%
Jonathan bought it.
Tomatoes.
Jonathan bought it.
Yes.
That's how committed he was to this endeavor.
It was $4 to rent or $5 to buy. I thought I might want to watch it more than once.
You said you might want to watch it every day if it's your favorite movie.
It's really good.
You should show it to your family.
Oh, no.
Be like, guys, I want to introduce you to this Dolby Atmos masterpiece of mixing. What
Look at
was
that. This guy got all 7 of them for $9.
Well, he's way better than us.
I got ripped off. I only got 1 for $5.
He's way better than us, obviously.
Oh.
So what was your takeaway so far? We still got about 40 minutes left in the movie.
It's not a rewatch necessarily for me so far.
But was it fun so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I like doing the Mystery Science Theater 3000 thing with you and kind of like, whoa, what was that? Wait a minute. What just happened?
What was that one thing that happened? Well, yeah, but there was something that like happened and then didn't make any sense.
Lots of things.
Yeah, I guess the whole movie's kind of that way. Like GPS working underground.
A lot of inconsistencies, like scene to scene. They kept showing Bert, and there was a different piece of grass on his lip every time they showed the scene. I was thinking, are they doing that on purpose?
Oh, the one where she was going to shoot the bow through the mirror, and we're like, she's not looking in the mirror, and then she takes aim and then just turns around and looks in the mirror like she's already set and aimed the bow. It was. What should so we're going to finish this movie, but what should our next one be?
We should figure out, we should have done at the beginning is determine who was going to die in what order and like made it like a fantasy football league type thing.
Well, no, we kind of did that with the main hunter guy. We tried to figure out how he was going to die.
Yes.
So we kind of did that.
We kind of came to the same conclusion. And it seems like this is a ripoff of a lot of movies. So we probably are pretty right.
Well, the sound from when they were going into the IR mode was as the first time it hit, you and I just went Predator. And it's the exact same sound. The exact same sound.
Hey, it's low budget. You got to borrow.
Well, and then I think before it even started, I was making fun of it. Like, what are we going to see? Velociraptors? And then all of a sudden, these things pop out that are like exactly like Velociraptors.
Yeah, and the guy gets eaten in the bathroom like Jurassic Park. I mean, there's like they did a lot of the tropes there.
They did
a lot of movies.
At least it doesn't take itself too seriously.
That's for sure.
Oh, the one comment the blonde woman made. What was that? When she was talking
something about you don't show mileage as good as my backside or something like that. What was it?
You show mileage better than my backside or something.
Ryan and I are like, what does that even mean?
What does that even mean?
The eggs.
We were trying to
has too much
sexual
fun
reference we didn't understand or something.
Something. I don't know. It was something. What should the next movie be? Let's get off the B wagon for a while. What should we do? Is there anything new? I don't have a theater, so I don't want to watch like anything that's amazing.
I watched one that was new this past weekend.
Well, nobody cares about you, Jonathan or
Michael. Doesn't matter. What is where's that ban button again?
Ryan has left the chat.
No, I watched Sound of Freedom.
What is that about?
Oh, I've heard that's really good, and we have not. My wife and I want to watch that one.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. It's sad, of course, because I mean, it's a reality of child sex trafficking. So, but and especially if you got daughters, man, you're like, and even sons. I mean, because it happens to guys, to boys too. But it's definitely it's wild. It really, really is wild. But on the positive note, it's got some amazing sound. Like the orchestral music that goes along with it to build the story is done really, really well. There's even like some tribal music that plays at one point. It's like, oh my goodness, that sounds awesome. And it's just building up. But yeah, it's pretty wild. Oppenheimer.
I don't know about this, man. Somebody just spoiled our fun. Look at that. Now we know. Now we know.
How could you do that?
Yeah.
I don't even want to watch
I don't
know
yeah, this is just, it's an awful experience now. I was so looking forward to finishing that movie.
I want to know more about this one. What happened here? What is this?
Well, that's part of the VIP experience.
Oh goodness.
So the next movie, if we keep it B movies or D movies, we have to do Iron Eagle.
Oh my god.
I've never seen that one.
Eagle. Yeah, that's been a long, that's been in the 90s.
It's bad,
man.
but it's fun because it's bad.
What was the ripoff of Top Gun? The spoof. Remember that one?
And then Iron Eagle?
Huh?
I don't know.
Hey guys, let us know in the chat. I know somebody knows the name. It was funny at the time because I was on a date, but
Hot Shots.
Hot Shots. But then I watched it again later. I'm like, golly, this is terrible.
You watched it on a date?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It was because it was a comedy, you know. But
Michael wanted his date to not want to watch the movie.
Really? So Chris says he likes it still. I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely stupid funny, Rich.
What should we do? Why don't we do a remake of a classic movie like Total Recall or
a remake? You mean the newer version of the classic?
Well, like I don't know, a remake in Total Recall, kind of like that.
When there's a newer Total Recall that came out 10 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, with Colin Farrell, I think.
I don't know, like something like that. What was it? Who?
Titanic just came out.
No, I've never watched it, and I don't want to watch it. I've never watched it. I'm committed to not watching it for the rest of my life at this point.
Yeah, that's okay. It was good.
2005 King Kong. Funny thing is, my daughter, my 5-year-old, is actually watching that movie right now. RoboCop. Anybody have any ideas?
I'm looking. I'm so far behind. These comments are coming in so fast. I'm trying to catch up. Waterworld. We talked about that last week. We all liked that movie, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, The Green Knight. Have you guys seen that one? That's a comment. I've wanted to see that one, but I have not seen it.
I haven't seen that. The Green Knight.
Okay, let's do that one. What is it?
I think it's kind of like a oddball, artsy type thing in medieval times, but I don't really know very much about it. Kind of one of those alternative type.
Knight.
Cliffhanger. I remember that one.
Let's see. What is this?
What's Green Knight's rating? What's its Rotten Tomatoes?
Probably like 60%. I don't know.
Dude, the comments are flying in.
They are. I don't know if this is the fastest they've come in. Look at this. How can there be any more recall? Total Recall's already done.
We should watch the 1998 Godzilla.
That's not a good movie.
No, it's not.
Really not a good movie.
It's a really bad movie. Ryan says 89% for The Green Knight.
I'd watch that one. I kind of had that one in my backlog. I don't own it.
Have you guys seen National Treasure?
Yes, with Nicolas Cage.
I used to love that movie. I've watched it.
You don't love it anymore?
No, I'm just saying I haven't seen it in a long, long time, but I used to watch it a lot.
I thought you didn't rewatch movies.
Well, all right. So the reality is when you're hanging out with students, you got to figure out movies that are appropriate. So that was always a good go-to. It was clean.
That's
so we'd watch a lot.
We got highbrow suggestions and we got lowbrow suggestions in here.
Bad Boys. Yeah. Bad Boys.
Chris says the 1998 Godzilla just came out in 4K.
It's still a bad movie.
Why even spend money on a 4K remaster for that?
I don't think I'd watch that one again. It's real bad.
It was really bad.
Austin Powers.
All three extended Lord of the Rings. We got to start now if we're doing that for next week.
Yeah.
Did he say extended versions?
So long.
Men in Black.
Oh, what's this from, fellas? You got to know this one.
What?
What's that quote from? Would you like to know more? I watched this movie recently, and
Silence of the Lambs.
Pleasure. I like that one.
I feel like this is Blade Runner.
Nah, it wouldn't be Silence of the Lambs then.
Starship Troopers.
Oh, I haven't seen.
Oh yes.
Now we're gonna get a bunch of quotes in here.
I actually watched last year. I watched every single Starship Troopers in order.
They're not terrible, are they? I mean, they're B movies.
No, they're not.
Like 2 and 3 is still fun.
They're not like Trump. Have you seen the anime version?
I didn't see the anime. I think I just saw the second and third one of Starship Troopers.
I mean, they're not awful. They're fun. Okay, they're awful, but they're not like super awful. Rewatching Starship Troopers, the first one that came out, it's actually got some underlying like messages that come in about different things.
Mm-hmm.
It did a good job. I didn't pick them up when I was a young kid because I was too busy watching the boobs, but you know, it is what it is. Event Horizon
movie I've ever seen, in my opinion.
Really?
What is it?
Event Horizon.
Event Horizon?
Terrifying movie to me. I haven't watched it in a lot of years, but it's a terrifying movie.
Terrifying. Interesting.
We do need to watch The Abyss since it just came back out in 4K or is coming back out.
I could go for that too. I like that one. Or I did. I haven't seen it.
We need to bring back the movie nights. We haven't done one in a while.
Chris, who's in the comments here, he's going with a group on Monday night to go see The Abyss in the theater.
No, I meant in like our home theaters.
I think it'd be kind of fun to see those old classics. Like if the real classic like that, going back to the big screen. I
don't like the big. There's always something wrong.
You're right.
Always. And I want I want it to be, if there's something wrong, that it's my fault, not me being disappointed because I paid money because somebody else screwed up. I want it to be my fault, and then I want to get up and piss everybody off because I want to fix it.
So when we went to pick up my daughter from the Appalachian Trail, they wanted to, you know, of course, they've been hiking 2,200 miles. So they just wanted some downtime. So we told them, look, whatever you want to do, if you want to go eat, if you want to just, because they hadn't eaten real good in a long time, we take you out to dinner, whatever. So they were like, hey, we want to go see a movie. So we went and saw The Hunger Games, the newest one. And this was literally probably the coolest, I was about to say home theater. This was probably the coolest cinema I've ever been to, man.
Where was it?
I mean, it was a Regal Cinema. It was phenomenal, dude. Just really, really cool vibe. When you walk in, they had kind of like a Starbucks on one side. So it was like a coffee shop. And then the other side, I think they had like desserts over there. And then there's all these LED lights when you walk in, just a cool vibe. And then when you're walking down the hallway, there's tons of LED, kind of like movie posters through, so they can swap them out. And they were rotating and such. Really, really done very well. And then the sound was phenomenal. Really great.
Was the movie good?
What's that? Yeah, I liked it. I mean, it wasn't like amazing, but it was good. I enjoyed it. So,
have we figured out what movie we're watching? The Green Knight? Are we going for that?
I'd go to the Green Knight. That's fine.
Okay.
I Am Legend.
Is Michael joining us on this, or is he just not going to do it? You going to do it?
I don't know, man.
Come on.
I know, man. It's the hardest part is my theater room most of the time is just so.
I don't even have a theater.
I know.
There is no. You cannot use that as an excuse. I watched. Jonathan and I are watching. I'm trying to pick movies that I'm not going to worry about missing on my theater, and we just watch them talking to each other. We start them at the same time, and then we talk to each other while we're watching them. You want to do that?
Okay.
Come on.
Come on. That was not a yes.
Like, no.
Okay.
This is hard for me to commit, but I'll try. How about that? You tell me when and I'll try.
The Green Knight has a 50% audience score. If critics love it and the audience hates it, that's not great.
That's not ideal. But we are watching Tremors 7, so we really can't.
Both audience and critics hated it.
Oh, goodness, man. Legend, not I Am Legend. My bad. So it's further back. What is Legend then?
Obviously, it's one of Tom Cruise's pre-Top Gun movies.
I don't know that one.
You even read the comments, Michael?
I'm reading all the comments. There's hundreds of them, man. They're just flying through. I mean, Jonathan says artsy fartsy, you know?
Ooh, Young Frankenstein. That's a departure from everything else. I haven't seen that in a long time. Oh, Ridley Scott made Legend. Okay. Well, then it probably won't be too bad.
Oh, look at there, man. You got an invite. Personal invite. Where'd it go? It just disappeared.
From Ivan, that I could go watch movies at his house.
Yeah. But like it literally disappeared. Where'd it go?
It's there.
Oh, here we go. Oh, there was like 30 after that, like immediately. So, like I said, man, I can't even keep up. Oh my goodness. You guys are killing the comments. It's awesome. So all right. So have we decided? Definitely.
No, it doesn't. Not this one.
Herc, not this one. The original Tremors, yes. Tremor 7, Shrieker Island, absolutely not.
It better not.
It is
Barbie was terrible. Yeah, I have no desire to watch Barbie again. That was awful.
I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, the original thing was scary. I haven't seen the remake, but the original one.
I liked the remake.
See, I don't even like old movies though.
I'm buying movies on Kaleidoscape right now, and Kaleidoscape's telling me you don't even have a server. It's like, thanks, Kaleidoscape. You're reminding me that I don't have a theater. Thank you.
That's funny. Can you hook the Kaleidoscape up to your phone or your iPad?
No, I don't have anything right now. No, you can't. Yeah, I need a Strato C or some type of Strato, and I don't have anything.
Need a HDMI coming out of the Strato C going into your monitor.
HDMI mini into the phone.
Exactly. Rambo series. Man, you guys are all over the place.
Did you guys? All right. So this is that guy that made Fifth Sense or Sixth Sense.
Fifth Sense.
Sixth Sense.
Is this like the offshoot of Sixth Sense?
The Indian director, I think. What's his name? Can't think of it right now. He did The Village. He did
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes, that's his movie. Did you guys like that one?
What
movie? Old was bad.
No, I have not seen
it. It's his classic, like twist at the end type stuff. It was okay. I don't know if I'd say bad.
Dude, there's a lot of.
All right. Well, let's commit on Green Knight.
Green Knight. Okay.
We'll see. I know nothing about it. Nothing.
It's gonna be like a D- movie, probably.
It probably will be, but you know, it's something to talk about. Look what Tremors 7 is spurred. Okay, and we haven't even finished it.
Right.
None of these people watched Tremors 7,
and it was ruined because Chris said that somebody died in the second half. Okay, so this is a solid idea, and Michael, you will commit to this with us.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
I may watch it in 2 times speed, but I'll watch it.
He's not going to do it.
No,
He's not going to do it. All right. Into questions. If you guys got questions, put them in chat. I'm going to star them.
Let's jump on it. So, like I said, this is hilarious. The first one, the Spoonie G. Now we're missing the reference, Ryan. Nothing. All right. So I'm currently running a 3.0 setup on a Denon 1700H. Have my crossover set to 80 hertz. Will my receiver still only allow the speakers to play to 80 hertz, even though it knows there's no sub? So he's just got a front LCR.
Yes.
Yeah. So my understanding, if you set the crossover, even though all right, let me think this through. Man, that's a good question.
It's true. Maybe we should. It's Denon, so yes, it's true. Because we were just doing that the other day. It will roll them off whatever filter it's applying. I don't actually know the order of the filter, but it will roll them off at 80 hertz, even if you don't have a sub. If you choose a crossover 80 hertz, so it'll diminish sound below 80 hertz.
What I'm wondering though is if in the Denon, if you tell it that you don't have a sub, do you get an option for a crossover?
So if you say full range, you don't get an option for a crossover, but you have full range or fifth. Is it starts?
But
at
it
40?
should, if you don't select during the setup procedure that you have, if you don't tell it that you have a sub, it should automatically select full range.
Yeah, but you'll have to change that.
But you can change it.
Yeah, you could go back and change it.
Yeah.
Why you would do that, I don't know.
Yeah. So my advice to you, I wouldn't use a crossover if you don't have a subwoofer, because you're essentially saying, I don't want anything. I mean, it's not a brick wall, like a solid 80 hertz and below. It's going to roll off. So you will get some of the lower frequencies, but you're going to miss out on a ton of content. So I definitely would run at least your front two, like left and right, as full range, if not even all three of them.
If he doesn't have a sub, he's going to need to run all three.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, well,
you guys are going to blow his speakers is what's going to happen here.
Well, what do you want him to do?
I mean, he needs to buy a subwoofer, but if he doesn't have one, just don't crank it up too loud. So, but
next podcast, Spooty G. You guys blew my speakers. What do you recommend now?
Well, obviously he needs to go watch the day after tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll keep rolling. Nicholas, question: if you have two subs firing at each other in each corner of the room, okay, so you've got front corner, back corner, will they cancel each other out at certain frequencies? Great question. As long as you've got them time aligned to your main listening position, they won't. So
yeah, I haven't seen that cancel each other out. In fact, we've done that in some subwoofer shootouts, is point them at each other to get the best frequency response. So
it depends on the room.
Maybe if you had them exactly like to the perfect thing, like with some sort of mechanism to make them perfectly aligned, they would cancel each other out. But the chances are you're not going to have them exactly in line like that.
But they would only cancel out in for a certain area, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, from the main listening position, we've done this, purposely done this in testing, and it doesn't cancel it out. Like you get a nice frequency response. Depending on
mine are opposed, firing into each other. They're
off angle,
exactly, but they are. Now there are phasing issues, but I think that's my room, not the subs.
Yeah.
So no, you should be fine. I say should be fine. You could have a null. I don't know.
Well, I guess if they're exact distance, then you wouldn't need to time align them, correct? Technically,
from the main listening position, they're both 12 foot away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could share time alignment reasonably well.
But you may have to adjust the phase.
Possibly. No, you shouldn't have to. If you have them like front left, front right of the room, and it's equal the main listening distance, you can split a sub. That's a common recommendation.
No, I think he's talking about like front right, rear left, like opposite.
No,
is the way I read it.
You better measure.
At each other in the corner, in each corner of the room. Yeah,
they will if they're out of phase.
Yeah. I don't think it matters which like he's talking about firing them at each other. I don't think that's going to make any difference.
It'll make a difference, but as long as if they're not timed or phased correctly.
Because reality, I mean, think about it. Number one, you're going to have your mains in the way. You're going to have your center channel in the way.
He's talking about rear subs.
You guys are everyone is guessing on that. If we tell you this, I think you got to measure it, man.
Sure.
Nicholas, buy a mic, learn REW, $100 for a mini DSP mic and a REW free.
No, man, just throw money at the problem and see what happens.
Or buy 3 different subs. You didn't like the way they sound, I guess.
Just throw a bunch of equipment in the room and get mad that it doesn't work, and then buy more.
Well,
that's how we all started.
That's how we all started.
We all did that.
Don't do that.
I love it.
Buy a mic and measure. That's important.
Solid advice. So Sonny says, who's starting diets again tomorrow? I am for sure. I'm not on a diet. I'm just trying to eat a little better. My thing is I'm trying to just eat less carbs, or not necessarily no carbs, but less carbs and less sugar. And but I did get a Starbucks tonight. So, but don't tell Jessica.
Jessica! Doesn't she watch your stream sometimes?
Oh, never.
Maybe she's gonna start.
She's my biggest fan, but she don't watch any of my content.
My wife doesn't watch any of my stuff, but Jonathan's wife does.
She supports me 100%. But
hi, Megan.
Desire to watch any of this stuff. Hey, Megan.
She's upstairs in the kitchen. I can hear it running up there. A little delay.
Medieval says.
Actually, she just texted me and said, "You and Ryan are like giggly little girls who stayed up too late at a slumber party tonight." So
obviously.
There you go.
Hey, at least he's smiling, Megan. Come on now.
There it is.
See, you don't want that face, man. I like the happy-go-lucky Ryan. So Medieval says, question, I'm moving into a smallish apartment, going to install 4 SVS prime elevation speakers on the ceiling What distance do you recommend for mounting them forward, back, and side to side? So I don't think it's more about distances versus angles. And so you need to make sure you get the proper angles versus a physical distance, because that's going to change.
Just look at the Dolby Atmos recommendations and then get close.
And the cool thing with that is you can even download like a almost like a protractor on your, like an app on your phone, and you can say, okay, it needs to be about from there to there, you know. So that's kind of the easiest way to do it.
One more thing to add there. If you're going to error, I would say error towards the inside and towards the inside, closer to your seating row.
Okay.
That's been my experience, because people who error from Dolby Spec out, like they have it wider that way, I haven't felt the overhead effects are as quite as good as if it's more tight. So
I would agree with that.
MW says, I'm planning on getting a very large TV instead of a projector for HDR. How helpful would MadVR be? MadRV, that's kind of a cool thought.
MadRV, I haven't heard of that one. How helpful will MadVR be? It'll still be extraordinarily helpful.
So it can run on TVs and everything, right?
It's display agnostic. It doesn't care. We actually use TVs at
trade shows.
A lot of the expos and trade shows and stuff we run. It's easier to show demos, and it's just as stark as doing it on a projector. So it won't matter. TVs, tone mapping is just as bad. It's not anything special. It's still going to struggle. Now, you won't get Dolby Vision, but doesn't matter because Envy does everything dynamically anyway.
Okay. So Nicholas, question: I just bought a Hisense U7K 85 mini LED. When I have a solid dark color on the screen, I can see visible faint lines. I think they call it banding. Is there any way to clean that up?
Change your source to 10-bit instead of 8-bit. If you have that choice, that can sometimes help there.
Okay.
It could be in the panel, like a defect, but if it's, you would want to check different sources and see if it follows the source or not. Could be in the, it could be in the recorded content too. I mean, it might not even be your TV settings or whatnot, your display settings. It could just be the source content has the banding,
or the source.
Maybe try it even on a different TV if you got another one in the house,
and then try different source, different content.
See if it's consistent.
Yeah, and then check your bit rate, your chroma, what color space you're using.
So Ryan even suggests, he said, try throwing up a solid gray. He said it could be a dirty screen effect to where it's not consistent across the panel.
That's a good point.
If you can hook it up to a PC, you'll get a lot quicker answers, I think. Use the HDMI and hook it up to a laptop or something, and then put it to 10-bit. Yeah, the 8 versus 10-bit is what comes to mind there, because 8-bit will have gradient banding and 10-bit won't. So if you have a PC, switch it to, you can go into the like NVIDIA control panel or AMD control panel, switch it to 10-bit, pull up your gray screens and see what you see.
Okay. Herc says, projector calibration question. The HDR, specifically bright white light during dark scenes, seems so bright that it makes the rest of the scene too dark. Is that normal? Is there a way to fix it?
Projector calibration.
I don't really know that. I don't recognize that problem. What projector are you using, Herc Driver? Like, what scene are you talking about? Give us a little bit more example of what you're talking about.
Okay. Some specifics.
That is probably just how the display is tone mapping the content. Not all tone mapping is made equal. So people need to understand that if you look at what one display is doing for tone mapping an image and then look at a different manufacturer, even the same manufacturer but a different line, the tone mapping for HDR content can vary widely. So your experience is not going to be the same when you're differentiating like that. So it's very important that you look at this on another display, preferably another manufacturer, and see if you have the same problem. My guess is it's how it's doing tone mapping, and it's
He's
just
got an
failing.
NZ9 with a UB820 Panasonic.
Oh, well, what mode in the NZ9 are you using? Post in the comments and let us know.
Okay.
Because the normal and wide modes can.
That's in filmmaker mode.
But isn't there the normal and wide mode?
Gamma setting, like it needs to be calibrated better. Like the gamma's wrong, and it's making you're getting black crush effectively.
Well, part of that's gonna depend on if he's in the normal or wide HDR mode, tone mapping mode. One of these is, I don't remember. Using wide. Try using normal and see if you have the same problem.
Okay.
Did he say what content he's talking about?
And what content are you on? Particularly what scene? And are you using any of the JVC settings in the UB820? Preferably, I would think you.
I don't think you want to on that. Yeah.
No.
The UB820's static tone mapping has been outclassed by the JVC tone mapping for some time. You would effectively use the basic luminance setting on the UB820 so that it puts out like a lower dynamic range, and then let JVC tone map from there. But you probably, in my opinion, you don't want to tone map from let the Panasonic player tone map to SDR. That used to be the age-old trick. You would take the Panasonic Blu-ray player and you would say, I don't want you to output HDR. You take this 4K HD disc and output it in SDR. Only feed my display device SDR. But that, in my testing, even with, I have a lower JVC, the RS2100, you have the RS4100, it sounds like. That's not an advantage to do that. It looks better playing the disc at HDR and perhaps letting the Panasonic say the basic luminance setting for your display so that it does a little bit of tone mapping with HDR, but it's not converting into SDR.
I don't even think I would let the UB820 do anything now with what JVC is doing with their dynamic tone mapping.
Yeah, I haven't retested since they've gone to the version 3 firmware.
I think at that point, you don't want too many cooks in the kitchen. Less is more.
He said Suicide Squad at the bar was the scene.
I'm not familiar
I've
with
never seen that movie.
Have you tried a different scene? Is it only that scene?
What are you twirling imaginary hair there, Ryan? What's going on?
I don't know. I'm bored. I'm not bored. I'm just
bored.
I fidget.
Mm.
Fine, I'll do it below the camera so I don't annoy Jonathan.
I'm fidgeting with something below the camera too.
Always fidgeting with something below the camera.
The podcast show is down. Appreciate it, man. Glad you're here to hang out with us. MW.
It's hard to look away from the train wreck. I get it.
Yeah, I think we did this one right. So again, when we discussed the results of the
we didn't say that. I don't know.
Okay.
We got more testing to do. This is a big one because I don't know really of anybody that's done this.
Mm-hmm.
And ideally, I need to set this up so that we can fast switch it.
Yeah.
Because
we didn't need fast switching. We didn't need fast switching.
No, we didn't. But to do it more objectively, it would be better.
Sound like there's so far there might be a clear winner.
There is.
In this room with these speakers, there was a clear winner.
Yes.
But
I think, Jonathan, we could actually do it with only 2 speakers. The majority, the most definitive testing was with 2.
Was easier to tell with 2 speakers.
Yes. So maybe we could do it with just 2 speakers, and that'd be a lot easier.
Ain't right, is it?
What are you laughing about?
No, there's comments in here that make me laugh every once in a while.
Don't read the comments.
I'm not putting that one up. Sorry.
Oh, you guys are killing me.
Chris, you just need to use your imagination. Anyway.
No, don't. All right. 3D says, I'd like to think I understand a lot of what you guys talk about, but now I've finally started properly researching acoustic panel type and placement. Man, that is a dark art.
Oh, just wait till you realize that everybody telling you what to do does it differently than the other guy telling you what to do.
Sometimes it conflicts. You know?
There's nobody. It's all different. People, even the big boys in the industry, all do it different ways.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of subjective art in that. That's exactly right.
And that's okay.
Nothing wrong with that. Nick Chapman says, picked up 2 RP 1600s with the sale going on. Not sure what that is. Upgrading from a single PB 1000 So that should be a huge upgrade, especially you're going to dual subs, man. I'm excited for you. Excited to get some real bass. And the 1600s did really well at MWAVE. So there you go. Nice. See, Ryan's finally learned to
the people that watch this afterwards are probably like, what is going on? They're always smiling at stuff and there's little subtle things happening in the background. They don't see the comments like we do.
They do, actually. They sure do.
They watch it later. I guess they could pull it up if they wanted to.
100%. It's on the side.
Yeah, it's on the side and they scroll with it. It's all good.
Yeah, it actually scrolls for you.
Yeah, they scroll with it.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so they'll see it as
if we move to Restream, you can actually overlay them.
Okay. Yeah, we're looking at possibly a different one.
Maybe.
Yeah. So MW says, speak to Chuck Gerlach before you do more Storm versus Trenov. I think Youthman knows him. Wisdom, home theater room. Yeah. So Chuck is an incredible calibrator.
I know
I'm
Chuck.
pretty sure most of the time he deals with Trenov, I believe. I don't know how much Storm, but he may be familiar with Storm as well. So Rich P said he bought the 1600. It's insane. Crazy bass. Good choice. And he bought 2 more 1400s to go with it. They're on sale for set. Yeah, I posted that the other day. Great prices on those, which is interesting because they really haven't been out that long. And what was crazy is people, they keep telling me, they're like, man, how come there aren't any reviews of them? Like, there's not really a lot.
That is a good question.
The reality is they didn't send many out. They really, really didn't. I mean, I was on the list since the beginning. I mean, I told them when they first announced it, I said, hey, I'd love to check these out because in the past, your subwoofers really haven't been that great.
Oops,
and they knew that, they were decent, but they had a lot of amp failures with them. So I was really, looking forward to getting a 1600. So we ended up having to buy one for MWAVE. So Ryan bought one and we used it in the subwoofer comparison. It did very, very well. I was really impressed with it. And we were doing blind testing.
I think everybody was shocked.
Telling people to kind of move around, try different seating. And it just was real consistent. Every time I would put down my notes on, what I was hearing and experiencing, it just tended to be clearer. It was cleaner. So I really, really liked it for sure. So
now they weren't measured. So remember that we didn't measure them. This was all subjective.
Yeah, it was just a fun experiment and kind of just initial impressions with it. So, but I think it did very well. And a lot of the guys that have bought them, I've had a lot of people in my comment section say that they've bought them and they've been very, very pleased with them. So Greg, appreciate the $20 super chat. You actually had just sent another one. You don't have to send multiple, man. I appreciate the love. Let's see. He says Martin Logan XTF 200 and B2 for surrounds. He's got Klipsch, IC, Atmos, Cinema 50, and let's see, all to be installed. Monolith 11. I think that's 11X. Emotiva XPA 11. Okay, so so he's asking, should he go with the Monolith 11X or the Emotiva XPA 11? Last part, Golden Ear Reference Center, going to be okay in the mix, changed mind midstream. So I could kind of tie into the Monolith 11X versus the XPA 11 because I had both of those in for review at the same time. So first and foremost, I didn't hear any difference like audibly between the two. They're both solid amplifiers. They have plenty of power for the speakers that I was running. They were Klipsch speakers, so they were very efficient. So it didn't take a lot of power to begin with. The reason why I went with the Monolith was actually 2 reasons. Number one, the Monolith has a more evenly distribution of power. So it has 200 by 3. So your front 3 channels get 200 watts per channel. And then the rest, the 6 channels, so 8. So your side surrounds, rear surrounds, and then maybe your 4 Atmos, those are getting 100 watts a channel. So the Emotiva XPA 11, those numbers kind of differ a lot more. So they put more power for your front sound stage. You get, I think, 300 watts by 3. But then the rears and the Atmos get, I think it's 65 watts per channel. So in my mind, I wanted that to be closer and to give my side surrounds, because I knew 200 watts per channel would be plenty for my setup. So that's why I went with it. And then the other reason is the Monolith 11X is made by ATI. As far as like the internal components and the schematic and all that, whatever they're wanting to call that. So that was my choice going with it. But I think you'd be fine with either one of those. I'll let you guys address the other question with the golden ears. I haven't heard. I'm not sure I've heard any.
Why would you do that? Why not go with the C100?
Like the matching Martin Logan.
Yeah. I know that Golden Ear also uses a supposed AMT, but why mix brands?
Now, if he already has it, you know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying it for a while, but ideally you want to keep it in the same family. So I definitely would agree with that. Were there more questions on there?
I don't think so.
Okay. And then he had another $5 super chat down here. He says, hey guys, really wanted to join MWAVE VIP handicap accessible. Oh, actually, that is a great question.
I don't think any of the VIP locations are going to be handicap accessible. They're all going to have stairs because everyone is in the basement.
That makes sense.
Now, MWAVE is handicap accessible. It's actually very good. Everything's on the same floor and it's very close to the outside. So
yeah,
that's not a problem.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
The VIPs, I would say no. Everyone's going to have stairs. I think all of them are going to have stairs.
Stephen Dew's main home theater is on the main floor, but I think he has some stairs to get into his house, like a couple little step ups. We could ask, but that everyone else, I think, as I'm thinking through, is in the basement.
Yeah. It's the Midwest. Got to run away from the tornadoes.
Yeah, we don't have that problem here.
We don't really have that problem anymore. It's all moving east.
Oh, mercy. That's a good question.
Greg came back and said the reason he was mixing like that is because he bought the center channel first.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Sell it. I don't know. I'm sure it'll be fine. It just ideal you want to stay with the same manufacturer typically for timber matching.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get away with it, but it's not ideal.
That's awesome. All right, let me go back here. All right. Nope, that one's already done. Forgot to unstart. Here we go. So Cristiano says, hi, I'm Cristiano from Rio. Good to see you, man, from Brazil. I'm planning on being at the MWAVE. Oh, my golly, I can't speak tonight because I'm trying to combine both of them. MWAVE. Do you think after my visit, I'll be able to decide between a top receiver or processor 16 channel for my home cinema? Great question, man. So Ryan, will we have, I know last year we did room correction. Some of those were, I guess, were all of those AVRs, or did you have some processor, some
They were all processors.
Okay.
But it wasn't, that's not going to be a differentiating factor. I don't think we're going to do that this year. That takes a huge allotment of time to set up. I think we'll do something, but not that big. Last year and the year before, we did a room EQ comparison, and I can do it again. It's just a lot of commitment to do. It takes up a whole room, takes a long time to set up, and it's a lot of work. Shout out to Bob for administrating that. It was a huge amount of work, and he did it 2 years in a row. So my suggestion is I don't think you'll need to wait till MWAVE to figure that out. Tell us what you got going on in your room. What are you needing to do? And we can tell you or recommend to you what we think would be the best solution for whatever you're trying to do. And let us know a budget too. 16 channels is getting up there.
Yeah.
But I think you don't need to wait for MWAVE to do that.
Yes, there's some great options out there for sure. And some that, have plenty of, I guess, user input and even reviews out there that, you know, that we could definitely make some cool recommendations for you. Trying to see if he had, oh, I thought he had another comment down there. But yeah, man, I'm excited. So we've got a lot of folks that are actually traveling from international and abroad. So I'm excited, man. This is wild just to be a part of this and to really create something truly unique in the space, and something that people want to come to literally from around the world. So I'm truly honored. I'm grateful. Nick says, upgrading my single. Is this the same one? Maybe it's
Yes.
okay. You guys are killing me, man. MW, when did art? How many support? Oh, mercy.
When you did art, how many support
subs?
channels did you have? I don't know what it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
We used as many as we could.
Support sons? What's he referring to?
No idea.
Okay.
But you answered it.
I don't know.
Well, I just
We're
guessed.
guessing. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Awesome. He says, T-Dill says, I want to upgrade to the Marantz 7706 from the Marantz 6013. Is it worth the upgrade? Will I notice a difference in channel separation? Great question.
No.
I agree.
If you're upgrading just to think that you're
Channel
going to hear
separation?
something, no.
No.
Is there
No,
another reason?
That's all hogwash. I'm going to be real clear on that. That's all hogwash. I've read that for years and years about channel separation. Unless you have a problem with your receiver, you're not going to hear channel separation. We just had a $25,000 processor in here. I have a $300 processor upstairs. The channel separation stuff, the dB levels that you measure at something like at ASR where they're doing those reviews, there could be 80 dB difference, 90 dB difference, 100 dB difference. You're not going to hear that. You're just not going to hear that. It's your noise floor in your room is 30 or 40 dB if you've got a good room, and 80 dB above that, you're just not going to hear it. So don't chase that dragon.
Now, Room EQ could do that.
Yeah.
Channel separation?
I mean,
that's traditionally meant like, hey, the left channel's bleeding into the left back channel or something because they're on the same DSP chip, is how I'm reading that.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. So I guess here's the thing. So there have been times where I have described what I hear and I say it has better channel separation. What I mean by that is I'm hearing more distinct information. Like I can
tell about different things. I was thinking physical hardware, like they're detecting signal in the wrong channel because it's bleeding through the electronics. You're talking about like practical, like the EQ has made it so now you hear the left surround a little bit louder than you did before, or whatever. It's fixed a mode or a null.
I'd say for both,
two different things.
For both, no, you won't notice unless you're looking at like different room EQs or room EQ run to run, and that's all subjective. I think
it's run to run is the answer to that. It sure seems like.
Yeah, even like within Odyssey or Dirac or anything, if you the experience you're going to get from one run to another is going to be different. But Tito, what is your reasoning for wanting to upgrade? Is there a feature you're after? Is there some like HDMI upgrade? Because the 6013 doesn't have HDMI 2.1, so maybe that's
channels, even
more channels. Wants a processor. I don't
know. Ray says he moved to Florida from Denmark 5 years ago just to be able to go to MWAVE. You must have been seeing into the future, because 5 years ago we didn't have an MWAVE.
I didn't even know Michael.
I know it. So, but he was able to see in the future. So, man, that's pretty awesome. But welcome to Florida. Florida's great, man. Been here all my life. All right, let's go back up here. Man, lots of questions tonight, guys. Sonny says, how important is it to keep AVR speaker trims in the negatives or low positives tops? I think it's important.
It's very important.
So,
Jonathan's looking like he has.
No, I don't disagree.
I think the higher you, like my personal preference is I try to keep it 0 or below. I was talking with somebody much smarter than I, And he says that he was talking to another engineer, and they actually recommend like being quite a bit lower than 0, because the closer you get to 0, and especially above, the more distortion you bring into it, the more potential you could clip.
Clipping is the big thing.
Overdrive your system and your speakers, and so you don't want to do that.
Clipping is the big thing because you'll run out of voltage, and the you're just going to clip at some point, and it means you're going to limit your dynamic range.
Yeah.
That, and as you apply EQ, you don't want to be right at 0 either if you can help it, because your EQ is putting you in the positive on certain parts of that band.
And you don't even necessarily know what, like, say, for instance, Odyssey or Dirac is doing in the EQ sometimes. So if it's boosting it in certain frequencies to try to fix something, then you could really be going way above.
So one of the speaking of Odyssey, one of the coolest things that I like now is the multi EQX app actually allows you to limit how much boost Odyssey can apply.
Nice.
So you have a lot more granular control over utilizing that app. And it's actually remarkable to what you can do with it. You don't have full PEQ capability, but it gives you a lot of functionality over what Odyssey can do, and I actually really like it.
So did you have somebody that had that, or did you end up buying it?
I got it for a job that I did, and I really liked it.
Cool.
The customer was really happy with it.
Good. Got another super chat. Shiraz says, Ryan, why do you think JTR subs are the best? Is it extended low bass or more bass output or bass quality? Also love the podcast. You guys rock. Appreciate the love, man.
Why do I think they're the best? I think there's 3 sub companies that are up there. You got Perlisten, JTR, and Ascendo in no particular order. I think it's just the guys know how to make a quality subwoofer. It's a combination of lower distortion, the ability to put out ridiculous amounts of output with quality drivers, quality cabinet designs. And with JTR specifically, you're able to get a tremendous price for performance out of them. I mean, I don't know of any real company that's able to deliver that amount of performance for that price point, unless you're doing it DIY. I mean, Rhythmic's pretty good, I guess, but they don't hit JTR numbers in any stretch.
Yeah.
They're just fantastic. They're great subs. If you can afford them, you should get them. Because once you get to that level, there's no real going a different direction. I mean, I can't say there's no real going a different direction because I am, but it's because I'm tearing my entire theater apart and decided to go a different direction away from ported to sealed. So I think if you're thinking about JTR, just do it. It's once you get below 10 hertz and you experience what that can do, it's hard to not have it anymore. But Jonathan, you told me you went from 7 hertz to now you're doing 20.
No, it's not that it's not there. It's just that I have, since I moved my room to the right, those 15 inches, I was pretty flat to 7 hertz with my old frequency response, and now I'm mostly flat to about 20, and there's a bump at 20, and then it rolls off below 20. So I'm not flat to 7 anymore. It doesn't go away. It's just physically moving the room, and I haven't gone back and tried to see if I can eke that back out flat again with the new physical position. So just, I mean, I didn't change any DSP or PEQ or anything like that. It's just what it is from room placement. And I was talking to a buddy of mine about this. I was like, that's kind of disappointing that just moving the subs 15 inches changed my plot so much. And he's like, well, who complains about a little bump at 20 hertz? That's kind of nice. So, I mean, there's some truth to that. There's nothing terribly wrong with that. So I don't know. I'm not in a real hurry to change it, but I do need to spend some time and see if I can get it flat again, just out of curiosity.
Yeah. I love that. MW says JTR and Ascendo, great time domain, not so much per listen.
I haven't measured them in that capacity, so I can't comment on that.
Have we seen? I haven't seen. Have we seen commercial or professional measurements on the per listen subs? I mean, I know they have that THX Dominus certification, but I don't care much.
Gene measured them.
Who did?
Gene.
Audiologics, yeah.
But he doesn't have like any of the time domain stuff or anything. It's just SPL plots. That's all that was posted on the
Was
by
that
James.
like the dual 15s, or which one did he measure from per listen?
Either the D15S or the D215S, or maybe both.
I'll have to go look at
But
that.
no, I haven't seen any of the like spinoramas or anything. Like if you go look at, well, JTR did because they were all over database, right? So you had all of that data, and then Ascendo posts all of their spinorama stuff. So you can go look at them on their website. They don't have them posted for all of their speakers because they do a third-party company that does all their measurements. They don't do them in-house, which I think is great because it keeps them transparent. But they have a backlog, so they're just adding them as they get them. But they do them all externally. So I don't know of anybody that's done them on the per listens yet.
There's a D215S subwoofer measurements and analysis by James Larson.
Does he have any of the stuff from like a Clipple or any of the near field stuff for time domain and phasing and
I don't know. Let's take
all that? I don't think he usually posts that. It's typically just SPL stuff.
Let's take it. Conclusion. Oh, I did see some measurements here. So that's
There's
group delay. Is that the same as time delay?
I think he was talking about group delay, right? But unless you have measurements published from the same source for all of them, I'm not sure you're going to be able to get.
It's really hard to compare.
Right. Gotcha.
You scrolled by the driver. Let me look at that driver up there.
Up top.
Go
Yeah,
out.
picture of the driver.
That one there.
A little higher.
There we go.
It's not a basket that I recognize, so maybe they're getting custom built from somebody. All right, you can scroll down. Let's look at that compression sweep we saw.
So MW brings up a good point. You can look at the group delay here and then compare it to the JTR, but they haven't compared the Ascendos. So you could look at that.
There's your compression sweep up one page or so.
Okay.
Up a little more. Right there. So you're looking at over 115 from a single driver.
No, this is 215s.
Okay, 215s at 2 meters outside. Probably is he doing this ground plane, or where's he?
James usually does this outside.
He does it outside, yeah.
So you're down to 105 at 20 hertz. To get 10 dB more output, you're gonna need probably 4 of those puppies if you want 115. You'd have room gain, so maybe not. Maybe a couple of them inside, depending on how much room gain you get.
Yeah, but you'd have. I think MW is specifically talking about group delay.
Oh, I was just looking at it from an output standpoint.
Yeah.
But MW, you can look at and compare the RT. Well, I think that's what he's saying, is comparing the group delay to the JTR. Were you talking about specifically on the Audioholics measurements, MW? I haven't compared them, so I don't know. And I'd have to ask James, like, were they taken were the measurements taken in the same way? Were they taken in the same location?
So if it's on a ground plane, that wouldn't really matter. Right?
Well, if the mic, I don't know. There's variables.
Variables. Yeah.
I'd want to confirm that he did it the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't looked at him.
Right. Yeah.
And I can't say that Ascendo matches because they've never measured an Ascendo, I don't think. Maybe they have. I don't think they have, though.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go look at that after this.
Okay. Let us know what you find out next week. SRW 1000 says, lots to be thankful for this Thanksgiving. AV home theater enthusiasts have been blessed in the last few decades. Many of us have systems that were unthinkable, even to the ultra rich not long ago. Definitely. Absolutely, man.
I think that's really true.
Yeah. Well,
you guys think about it as you grew up. I mean, as you grew up, a single 18 was like,
yeah,
who has that?
Yeah,
Nobody knew had it. Nobody knew had it. And now a lot of enthusiasts have a pair of them, on the forums because they're accessible now.
You got 98-inch TVs for $3,000 from Black Friday.
It's accessible.
100-inch. Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
Hisense 100 inches, $3,000.
I mean, we're talking about all three of us have theaters in our houses.
I know.
And what
I used to
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've always thought that, when Jessica and I first started talking about having a dedicated theater room, my initial thought was only rich people have dedicated theater rooms.
Michael's
And
loaded.
that's just not the case, you know. I know a lot of people that have theater rooms that, I mean, they're not wealthy. They've just saved up. They've maybe transformed a bedroom or a garage, or
Oh no.
in my case, it was called a media room. I mean, I didn't add on to my house. This was part of it in construction.
30 years ago, you had a CRT projector. They were this big, you know.
Yeah.
You just didn't have those in your house, and they were super expensive.
Sure.
So like the landscape has changed.
Yeah. And it's made it more accessible to so many people. And, you know, I've even been thinking about doing a video on, you know, we keep getting channel counts higher and higher and higher, you know, 9, 10, 12, 15, 16, and on up. But the reality is you can still get an incredible movie experience from literally like a 5.1.
Yeah, you can.
You got good surround sound. You've got solid bass for the bottom end. So you don't have to have a huge channel count to still get a great movie experience at home. So I agree, man.
So I'm going to answer this question just because I don't know if he's going to be away.
Definitely.
Nicholas says, we can't get big subs in Australia. I think the SVS PB16 is the best available here. There is actually, and I can help you out with this potentially, there is actually an Ascendo distributor in Australia. So if you're interested in that, I can shoot me an email and I can try and hook you up with them, and maybe find you a dealer locally in Australia. So
Ascendo and SVS are not the same price category.
Yeah.
No, but he said the biggest sub.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. He said
which
the best
means
available.
instead of the 16, you've got
50.
the 80. All right. So we've transcended. Anyway, sorry.
I like it, man.
Getting Ryan fired up.
I know he's getting excited.
I'm hopped up on too much caffeine.
Hey, Joe says, I have 4 theater chairs. If using Odyssey RC with a Marantz 7012, should I spread the mic wider apart from the main listening position to get a wider soundstage for all seats?
It's going to depend on your room, and I say that because if your walls are right next to your wide seats, then you probably don't want to do that because you're going to be mixing in a lot of boundary interactions that you probably don't want being part of the average. If you have a wide room that's open, like mine's pretty open, then you can go and get that measurement from those outer seats. Odyssey is literally just averaging them together. You can't weight them or anything unless you do 2 measurements in the same exact spot out of the 8, or 5 measurements in the exact same spot out of the 8. So you take 8 measurements and you average them together, and it's applying that EQ to the overall average. So again, don't put it right next to a wall, front, back, side, or anything else. Kind of keep it more centered in the room, because that's where your best sound is going to be, unless you got a big wide room, and then you can put it on outside chairs. And the weighting thing is real. Like, hey, you got 8 measurements to do. Maybe you take 4 measurements in your center seat in different type of positions. You get one that's reclined with the headrest here. You get one that's forward, like you're leaning forward to listen to music. You get one that's, or maybe put 2 that are kind of reclined, and then maybe you do the other 4 measurements, 2 in each chair. You can do something like that.
So
I think one thing you could do too is, well, no, he's got an older AVR. I was about to say you could do the AB with the preset 1 and preset 2.
I won't work on that.
You could at least do the Odyssey app, and then you could save 2 different versions, like take some measurements and just see
I don't
which
think
one
it's going to
sounds
give
better.
you a wider. I don't think I would do that personally.
Yeah, I don't do all my seats.
I think it's dependent on how many people typically watch things, how much you care about those people, and what you're trying to accomplish. It does sound terrible, but if it's only you, I would just move the mic around to different elevations and positions in your main listening position or around it. And the reason you do multiple positions is because it allows the processor to average them together to get what the output is. So more measurements is good, but I think I would restrict them personally.
The reality is it's hard to get a phenomenal seat to seat on every, spot in your room, due to the way that they're going to interact with the room.
So back to the question about time delay. I did look at them, and MW's right. The JTR does have significantly better time delay than the per listen. For anybody that's interested in actually looking at the graphs, just search for the RS1 on Audioholics and the D215S on Audioholics and look at group delay and just pull them up on 2 different tabs and do the comparison.
Hi, Finest. Appreciate the $5 super chat. He says, what's a reasonable number of PEQ filters to flatten subs in multi-EQX? My target curve requires 10 filters. What is that? I'm not sure what that is. Cuts as much as 18 dB, any good? I don't know the A11 cuts.
You're cutting 18 dB.
I mean, it's fine if he's only doing 1 seat.
No, I don't think so. That's not placement or something's not right if you're doing 18 dB swing on a cut.
Not necessarily. It depends on what his room. He's probably got a room mode in his room based on the placement of the subs.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the placement and how far into the room they are, you're going to get different room modes for, like, if you have only 2 subs, you're going to have different room modes at different frequencies that are going to provide a pretty nasty bump.
He's talking about 10 filters with 18 dB cuts. That means he's doing really narrow filters, and I don't like that because it sounds horrible.
He's saying a cut as much as 18 dB, so that's the maximum.
No, I don't do it. I don't recommend it at all. I recommend wide filters and small boosts or gains if you're doing manual EQ. 18 dB is no good as a cut or a boost. It's just not. I mean, it's that hollow sound we talked about the other day, Ryan. Like if you do those narrow cues where they're very short deeps and peaks and stuff, that's audible. You get out of that main seat and it's audible.
But that was my point. If it's only 1 seat, it's fine. That's what I said.
Okay.
But if you're getting into multiple seats, yeah, it's going to cause some serious problems because your room mode is going to change seat to seat, and that 18 dB cut probably isn't needed in the seat next to you.
Right.
Yeah. It'll be detrimental because that's a big adjustment.
It will be.
Yeah. So is there a reasonable number of PEQ filters?
None.
Or is that just depending on the room?
It depends.
Wider and lesser is better, in my opinion.
It also depends on what he's trying to accomplish, right? If he's only doing 1 seat, fine. But if he's trying to do the Jonathan method of having everybody have an equal experience, then no. I would do wider and fewer.
2 or 3 is kind of a good number to, in my opinion. And I would tackle it by adding more subs than doing some sort of really granular EQ. And we've talked about that multiple times on this program. So if you got to do 18 dB boost or cut or anything like that, you need more subs. That's the bottom line, in my opinion, for main listening position or not. It shouldn't have that. That's not good.
Depends.
No, it's not good.
It depends.
Add another sub.
Yes.
And if you add another sub, you still got it. You got a phase issue or something you're dealing with, or some sort of interaction between
I think depending on the
dB swing. I mean, that's huge.
It's not hard.
What?
It's not hard. It's not hard.
What? I disagree.
Man, there's rooms. Yeah, it depends on the room.
I've measured a lot of rooms. That's not good.
I didn't say it was good, but it's not hard to get.
You guys crack me up.
Before he starts messing with PEQ filters, he needs to mess with placement of the subs.
Yes.
Start with that.
Absolutely.
And again, measure, get you a calibrated microphone and do some measurements. See where it.
And if you care about multiple positions, make sure when you're moving the subs around, you're measuring from multiple seats to make sure that you didn't just fix the main listening position and then create a massive null or bump at the seat next to you.
Yeah, I'm going to take a minute here to explain what I'm talking about here.
Yeah,
I went over to, we had a greenhorn in our group who's a nice guy. We really all like him. He had learned about REW and PEQ filters and a mini DSP, and he'd trim that thing out to where it was ruler flat in his main seat. He'd got all kinds of PEQs in there, real steep, small ones. And that thing was like, look, he's like, look at that. He's real proud. Look at what I did.
Beautiful.
I stepped 2 foot to the left and I said, now come over here. And I'm just like, we're just visiting. It's movie night. Now listen to that sweep 2 foot over, and it's like a hollow, horrible. It doesn't even sound like the same sound at all. It's a completely different sound because now all those real granular things wrecked it 2 foot to the left.
Not only that, but you're going to end up creating a sound that's potentially too processed, and it may measure great, but it's probably not going to sound very good if you add too many filters. And the filters can interact and cause all kinds of mayhem, not just in frequency response, but in the time domain and further. And remember, just because your line looks like this doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a great experience, even from the MLP.
And you're measuring from this mic tip when you're doing that, and you're not moving it, and it's one precise location, and our ears are not a mic tip, and our ears don't hear like that mic tip hears. So if he had averaged 3 positions with his granular measurements, he would have been a world better place than just one single spot and spend all that time doing the PQ. It was dramatically bad 2 foot to the left. I mean, it didn't even sound like a sine sweep. It was so bad. And so when I said that and he went over and heard it and I explained it, he's like, oh,
he's like brokenhearted. He's like, oh man, I got to start
it's been all this time.
Look at what happened yesterday during our demos with your speaker. You could hear that like bottom out hollow in the right seat, but when you moved to the main listening position, you couldn't hear it.
Precisely.
So it's those types of experiences that you really got to be careful of. And I think that's a hole that a lot of people fall down. I think we've all been there, and we think, man, I'm going to apply all these filters, and the flatter I can get it, the better the overall experience. And that's not necessarily the case a lot of times.
Yeah.
What you would typically want to do if you want to do that real granular stuff is you go and you get your averages from all your seats and weight them toward the center. Maybe you do 4 or 5 seats in there. And then you apply your granular EQ to your average FRD that you've got for all those seats. And so you're then applying it not to one seat, but you're applying to your holistic EQ across the listen area you care about. So that's what you got to do in that kind of situation. You should not be applying 18 dB of correction to anything. That's my opinion, very strong opinion.
Yeah. I think it's good advice. Solid. Kind of the less is more approach. Ty, appreciate the $5 super chat. He says, thank you 3 for doing what you do for the community. And we're glad to do it, man. We have a lot of fun. Hopefully it provides value and education to you guys and answering your questions. What's the best setting in and output when using an old receiver as a single monoblock to drive a passive sub? The best setting in and output?
I don't think I would do that.
I'm trying to figure out, like, what's he wanting to do here?
Is he saying that his old receiver doesn't have a LFE out? It's just got like left and right or something?
But he said it's a passive sub, so the sub doesn't even have an amp.
Right, so just have line level inputs.
But the receiver's not going to have enough power to be able to drive a sub.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
Unless it's a small sub.
Single monoblock.
You're not going to be able to turn a receiver into a monoblock.
Yeah, that's an interest. I've never even considered doing something like that.
If you're on the, and there's nothing wrong with this, man. If you're on that extreme end of the budget spectrum, or this is like a side project that you're doing, you can get little passive like T amps on not passive. I said the wrong thing. Little amplifiers. They're called T amps on like Parts Express, and they're very inexpensive. And that will be something that you
do the same. Yeah, it'd be the same thing.
It might be like a 80 watt amp or a 100 watt amp. It's not gonna set your doors ablaze, but actually there's quite a bit of, I mean, just like a speaker, 80 watts will make some bass, and they're not very expensive.
He says the 12-inch old amp blue. I've got a Denon 4813 on the shelf that I know could drive it. Okay, so he's got a subwoofer, the amp blue in it, so that's why it's passive. And then he's got an extra Denon just lying around. He's like, hey, can I use that as an amplifier to power it?
So I blew a receiver once trying to do pretty much what he's doing when I was a young man. Because a lot of times the subwoofer impedance is 2 ohm or 4 ohm, and the AVR might not be happy trying to run that at max volume at that low impedance. So be careful with that from that perspective.
Yeah,
4813 can probably handle 4 ohm load, but if your sub's 2 ohm, it will not be happy doing a 2 ohm load.
What can you get one of those T amps, like price wise? We're talking like
50
$100?
bucks or something, probably. Yeah,
That's
just
super
go to Parts
affordable.
Express and look up T-amp. T is
Yeah.
in Tom.
I think that would be a better option, to be honest with you. All right. Cristobal says, Jonathan, what are your thoughts on a CBT 100 worth the much higher price, or does 70J do everything needed in a home theater setting?
Good question. I've never heard of CBT 1000, but somebody in the comments named Chris Carpenter 314 has, and I'm not sure if he kept them or not. I haven't heard back, but he bought a set. He has CBT 70s in his home theater as well, so he'd be one to ask. You might see if you can find him in the chat.
Nice.
I had an opportunity to get a really good price on the CBT 1000. In fact, Chris had contacted me and asked if I wanted to upgrade, and I just consciously turned it down because we were talking just doing LCR. But then when I get LCR, I know how my mind works. I'll be like, wait a minute, I want all matching speakers. Now I'm changing everything out in here to get the CBT 1000. And when it boiled all down, that's a huge expense. And I'm real happy with what I have. So I was just like, no, I'm going to put the brakes on and I'm not going to do this. That was I don't even care if I hear them because I don't want
Right. You don't want to hear them. You don't want that temptation.
I don't want that temptation.
For that extra 10%. Mazin says, I want to upgrade my Yamaha AVR RX 2085. Thinking of these options. What do you think? So he's considering a Denon 6700H, fantastic, 6800H, or a Anthem MRX 1140. If I can afford the AVM 70 plus external 11-channel amplifier, or man, he's got a lot of options here. So my thought is Denon and Marantz definitely have always just, for the most part, they've just been solid. They work well. You don't have to worry about them. Some of the Anthems, I mean, they're great. A lot of owners have Anthem. They love Anthem. But sometimes they're not as stable as far as little quirks and bugs. What are your recommendations there? I mean, and even price-wise, there's a big jump in a lot of those. Especially if he's considering going separates. I mean, AVM 70 with 11-channel amplifier, that's a big difference than, say for instance, just 6700 or 6800.
Little bugs annoy me. I want my home theater to work when I power on my receiver. So I echo what Michael was saying. The Denon and Marantz products they have a very big install base. Their firmwares are very reliable. They're bug free. Different levels of bugginess. They kind of clean them up a lot of times with like the other products, but they're more boutique. They're smaller teams. They have more outliers where HDMI might cause issues or syncs might not work or little bugs, with a smaller team on some of these other processor companies. So you can choose from there. As far as sound quality, I think we'll all three agree that it more boils down to auto EQ processes and how you set them up than the actual hardware themselves.
Yep.
Difficult to predict which one you'd like.
Need to, because that's the biggest thing. Certain ones are going to have different features than the others. More channel count, less channel count, things like that. A little bit more power. That's not going to be that big of a difference, especially if you're only talking 10, 20 watts per channel. You'll never hear that difference.
I had the 6700H. I really liked it. The 6800H is the successor.
6800H is out yet.
I can't hear the difference between my 6700H and my Marantz AV10. So that tells you like it's already at the top tier, in my opinion, at that level. The A1H is a $7,000 retail Denon. I mean, yeah, those are great products. How many channels do you need? Only reason I go from the 6800 to the A1H is I wanted 15 channels instead of 13, really, I think.
Or because Ryan has an open box that really needs to go somewhere and I really need to get rid of it.
It needs a home, so you might get a decent deal on that one.
He's talking 11 channels. You could go to the 3800H, man, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to steal Ryan's sales.
No, I think that's a
3800 does 11 channels, and that's it's $1,000, man, and it does what you need it to do. It's really reliable product. Adorama, they had it for $900 on Black Friday just to make Ryan get a little irritated because $900 for that thing, that's wild.
Yeah.
11 channels of processing with 4 sub outs.
Yeah. Under $1,000. Pretty nice.
But 9 channels of amplification.
Correct. You got to have an external 2-channel amp for 11 channels.
Honestly, man, I think you've got a lot of great options there. So I would look at the feature set to see kind of what best fits your needs and your desires. And And sometimes you even want to think long term. So if you plan on going to a higher channel count, you might want to consider something that has more channels, and then you won't maybe necessarily have to upgrade, as soon down the road. There was a super chat. Let me scroll down here.
I got it.
Came through.
Yeah,
Cool,
one more second. We step back to that 3800. Think about this, fellas. Those 4 channels make it equivalent to like a 15 channel processor, really, because it's 11 channels and then 4 sub channels that are distinct. A 15 channel processor 2 years ago cost
way
With the
outrageous.
$8805.
$5,000, $4,000 for like the entry level stuff. Now you're talking $900 for it. That's wild.
That's pretty crazy.
From a name brand with nice GUI and everything. Wild.
Yeah.
Talk about that accessibility. Go ahead.
Yeah. Eric, appreciate the $10 super chat. He says, got clips, La Scalas is left and right. Looking for wall-mounted Atmos speakers that can be adjusted in direction depending on the position. Any recommendation clips or, as usual, great information. Appreciate it. So I had 3 clips La Scalas up front for my LCR, and I was running the CDT 5800C version 2s. So those have aimable mid-range driver as well as an aimable tweeter. And I ran that for many years and really enjoyed that setup. So I'd have no problem recommending those, but he's saying for wall mounted, I mean, you could probably look at something like SVS. They make a, what did they call it? Height elevation speaker. So that would be wall mounted. Klipsch also makes a RP. Oh man, I'm forgetting that model number, but there's one that they have that is a wall mounted version.
Obvious answer is wall mounted La Scalas.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Put some Heresies up there would be sweet. So, but they're the hard thing with the Heritage, man. They're just going to be really, really massive, and most people can't do that. I've seen people do that.
Excuses.
Yeah, I think you could. The good thing with, I mean, ideally, I like to try to keep them all in the same family, same manufacturer. But when you get to Atmos and sometimes even your surrounds, I don't think it's necessarily as critical, even though, again, I'd rather have all the same brand, same tweeters, that sort of thing. Just has a much more cohesive sound. I mean, when you go to Jonathan's house, it's an incredible experience to have identical speakers, man. That's phenomenal. That's like peak right there when you have them all identical. So if you could work in some extra La Scalas as everything, dude, that would rock.
It wouldn't suck.
I don't think that's going to happen though. But yeah, so the hard thing is when you're talking about Atmos surrounds, like wall mounted, most of those, the only way you're going to be able to aim that, as far as if you're wanting to really have some positioning, you're going to need to get some kind of speaker mount for it. And that has some challenges because a lot of the surface mount speakers are not going to have like a 1/4-inch thread or something in it.
Just drill into them.
Challenges. What's that?
Just drill into them.
Yeah, you can. Ryan has no problem. I would never drill into my speakers. So that's just me. Chain some little scallops to the ceiling. Heck yeah, dude. Dude, if somebody does that, call me because I want to come film that. That'd be a killer home theater. Have a La Scalas all around.
Yeah, now people are like, all black swans for Ryan? No.
Exactly.
No.
I don't think that's going
to
work.
I'm doing 15-inch berylliums, but I don't have room for black swans all the way around. That's not happening.
Yeah. All right, we're going to try to blow through these. Frank, Jonathan, you mentioned LS 12,000 is better than commercial cinemas. Does this include Dolby Cinemas?
Yeah, I think that's true. And I'll tell you a very specific reason why I think that's true. We went to 2 years ago for National Cinema Day. No, it was last year. Last year, we went to 3 different premium cinemas in Kansas City. AMC Prime, AMC IMAX, and then RPTX from Grand Cinema or something. So the National Cinema Day had like $3 tickets. So our whole family went. On the way home, we had the Epson 12,000 as like the projector that I was using at the time. On the way home, my kid said, "Dad, I don't even know why we go to the movie theaters. The projector at home is way better than those projectors in those cinemas." So yes, not just my own tongue, but my kid's tongue, saying that it's better. And it's better for, it's not as big, let's be frank, but it's sharper The motion's better. The black levels are better. Like it's a better picture than the commercial cinemas, in our opinion, in the Von England family opinion.
That's awesome. There you go.
All right, so I'm going to say real quick, I've got about 6 minutes before I'm going to drop off. So I'm just giving you a heads up because my family's asking me if I can come upstairs and kind
of. I'm going to drop off and Ryan's going to finish up the show, so it'll be all right. No, whatever you need to do, just give us the peace sign and just dip out. So Rich says, bought the Hisense 100U 8K. That's awesome, man. Sitting at 9 to 10 foot. Super immersive and loving so far. Followed the ratings guide for calibration, but wondering, should I try to calibrate it myself or pro you recommend near the DSM Iowa area? Any thoughts on how to calibrate it? Best calibrate it? Does he need calibration?
RTINGS has ratings. Little recommendations that you can try to follow and get you ballpark, but that's not a substitute for an individual calibration.
No. A calibration is going to make a huge difference.
It'll be better than nothing, probably, if you follow some of their general practice guidelines on that site. Oh, he said he did follow it.
Right, he did.
Yes.
Yeah. And here's the thing is, it's that, the FOMO. Am I missing out because I'm loving what I'm seeing and I'm enjoying it, but could I get a better image if I were to hire a calibrator?
Yes.
Who here has hired a calibrator and then decided they didn't like the image as well as they had before? Because I
was about to say some people do, and especially because it's typically dimmer, and that's the biggest complaint. It's like, oh man, like I kind of miss the brightness out of it because calibrated image sometimes isn't what our eyes prefer.
Reference versus
even though it's more accurate.
I think that's changing though.
Think so?
Like the new RP23 standard that I'm helping write says that a level 4, which is the top, like theater that everybody can get to, HDR content should be 300 nits.
Okay.
300?
300.
Not 1,000?
Well, this is for projection.
300 for projection is crazy too.
Yes.
It's crazy the other way.
That's stupid bright. I mean, you put 1,000 nits on a projected image and you'd be blind on a lot of projectors.
We saw 500 and it was
like, oh my God.
Stupid bright from a Christie.
So I think that's changing. I view calibration as a great starting point, and then being able to move away from it to create a subjective experience that you want, because we're all different. I don't think everybody's going to like an ISF standard. For me, it's too dim. These guys know I want retina melting brightness.
Yeah.
So I still think calibration is beneficial. You'll be surprised at how off colors can be. The hard part, though, for a lot of environments, unless you have a video processor, is getting them to be able to show before and after. That's the hard part. But with something like Envy, I can toggle it on and off, which is it's pretty stark once you see it.
All right. Jonathan, do you need to run?
Yeah, I think I enjoy the time here tonight, but my family
I want to give you the opportunity. It makes it easier than you to awkwardly go, oh man, I feel weird, saying, hey, see ya. I'd rather give you that opportunity than
thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. And Ryan, I had a blast yesterday. Thanks for coming over and
the pizza was great. We will do that again.
Yeah, the pizza was great. We ate there twice. Michael, it's funny. We went to Vito's Pizza, and then we ended up going to Vito's Pizza again for dinner because we enjoyed it so much. So here, one little picture. If you guys haven't seen this Trinoff mic, how cool is that?
Oh, it's crazy. It looks like a space probe.
For 3D positioning within 1 degree is what we were told on that. Is the way that can then map your speakers and the objects to your speaker to know exactly where to put it, versus like a traditional mic that the other systems use. All right, thanks, fellas. Enjoy the evening. Talk to you later.
Jonathan. See you.
All right, let's see.
Thank God he's gone.
So Bob, appreciate the 729 sticker. I think it's a sticker. Appreciate the love, man. Let's see who else we got here. Man, we still got a ton. Oh my God.
I'm gonna try and not start more questions.
And read through them too. And if they don't really pertain, then we can.
I mean, they all do. It's just there. We got 40 to go through still.
Dude, y'all are going nuts on the comments, which is awesome, man. I love it. And we love trying to answer as many as we can. Tasmeister says, your thoughts on a Sony projector versus a JVC line of projectors in terms of color reproduction and black levels. Any noticeable difference? Are we splitting hairs here? Black levels, absolutely not splitting hairs. We've done 2 years of side-by-side comparisons between various JVC and various, like the latest Sony's versus the JVCs, and there isn't a comparison in the black levels for sure. Now, as far as color reproduction, Ryan, what do you remember about that? You probably have more experience kind of seeing the side-by-side comparisons than I do. And actually, I guess color reproduction, that can all be handled with calibration, correct? At least that's what Nick was telling me.
Yeah.
He's like, I mean, so, you know,
there's going to be a difference in ANSI
offset,
contrast
like,
and stuff, depending on what level of JVC and Sony you do.
Mhm.
I don't really have anything to add on what Michael said. There are some good JVC sales going on right now. If anybody needs a JVC.
And Ryan sells both of them, so it's not like he's trying to just push JVC.
No,
you know.
I sell whatever makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not in it for me. I'm in it for you.
Yeah, hit him up.
Well, hit us up.
Yeah. I read them. I just don't always respond to them. Because
yeah, he marks them as read, and then I have to go check the email, and like it doesn't show as read or as unread.
That's funny, man. Sorry. All right. Yeah, if you saw how many emails and comments and questions and
all I hear is excuses.
Oh my
Just
gosh.
Excuses.
Man. No,
excuses.
I mean it's wild. It's definitely wild. I'm not complaining, but it's wild.
He's complaining.
I am complaining. Jimmy Anderson says, hi, Ryan. I reached out by email last week. Hello, Ryan. Talking about email on your business email about your Buckeye.
I probably just missed it.
But never heard from you. Did you sell the 8-channel units? You still got any of those?
I still have 3.
Okay.
They're
so
still
shoot
here.
Ryan an email.
Send another one. I'll get back to you.
If you send it to the sales, then I can mark it as red and he can chase after that. I'm sorry, man. That's hilarious. I love it. You can send it to Ryan at ascendav.net. Put what could he put as a caption? Like bold, Buckeye, 8-channel amp.
Doesn't matter. I probably just thought I would respond to it later and then got caught up on something and then it stayed as red.
He's got ADD like I do, man. We get sidetracked on stuff. Rich says, picked up the Hisense for $3,000 with many types of tech for extra large screens in the next few years. Are projectors still selling in 5 years? Love what you guys do. Chemistry is awesome. Cheers. Rich, I absolutely think I don't see projectors going away anytime soon. I mean, like really anytime soon. Even with massive screens, it's going to be a long time before the what is it, mini LED? The new ones, like the wall.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's different technologies there, but yes.
But those types of TVs that are scalable, big as you want, I mean, there's a lot of challenges with that format. Where do you put your center channel? You can't put it behind it. There's a ton of heat from them, of course, over time. That'll get better. I mean, they're super expensive right now, so I don't see that anytime in the next.
Well, the other problem is how do you upgrade them?
I know.
It's a kind of stay with the house kind of thing. Projectors are easy to upgrade because they're a lot smaller.
Yep. Yeah. So I think there's some challenges there. So no, I think, and here's the thing too, think about it. Yes, TVs are progressing and they're getting better and better, but so are projectors. I mean, Ryan, 10 years ago projectors compared to today's projectors, are there any comparisons really?
No.
Certain aspects of them, like, some of the old JVCs still have amazing black levels back then, but there's a lot of differences for sure.
I think for media rooms, TVs, dedicated home theaters, projectors.
Yeah. And I love the scalability with the projector,
My biggest thing is acoustically transparent screens, and the ease of upgradability. Like when things change, I can get a better projector. It is so difficult to resell a TV.
It's hard
Not
to get
even
one.
talking about a LED wall. That's next to impossible. What do I do with that? It's built into the wall. Like you have to, people don't understand that with an LED wall, you got to put in an infrastructure to do that thing. I mean, it is
heavy.
not though even heavy. It's just the power circuits that are needed, the heat generation, the support structure, because they're all individual panels. I mean, it's a big to do. Now, maybe when we get like rollout TVs or something, I can get behind that, but that technology is, it's here, but it's a ways out.
Yep. Let's see. Yeah, so I mean, you got a different perspective. MW says I'm leaving projectors now for large TVs because HDR, and on top of that, the micro LEDs are the future. They are the future, but like I said, there's some challenges there. And I actually made a dedicated video on that. Bob Slade, appreciate the $36.99 super chat. So he's wanting to compare like the Klipsch RF-73s versus the Arundel 1723 for movie, music, and performance.
You actually made a content about the Arundels.
What's that?
You actually made a comment about the Arundels before we got on stream.
Super pleased. I've got an entire 1723 system in my theater room for review. Now, one thing I didn't do is I did not bring it out into my living room to do any kind of 2-channel listening. I don't do a ton of 2-channel anyway, so most of my reviews and content is either, sometimes I'll do things like Greatest Showman, but I don't do just like a lot of 2-channel listening. So it'd be hard for me to kind of direct you on that. As far as movies, man, I've really been enjoying this system. I've got 2 of the 1723 2S, and I was telling Ryan backstage, these little jokers have really
They're
surprised
not little.
Well, they are, as far as their footprint is quite small. They're narrow. It's kind of wild because they're dual opposing, and so they don't have to be super, super deep.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm sorry, not deep, wide. I don't think they're massive subwoofer. And well, I mean, now that I think about it, I mean, what I consider massive now is, so
it's subjective.
Some people, it might, some people might.
I will say that Arundel's naming scheme is confusing.
There's a lot of people's name. Well, what does RF-73 mean?
I didn't say Klipsch. Klipsch is worse. I'm just
sometimes now. Normally, it makes sense. RF-62. Okay. Reference floor standing 6.2. There's 2 6.5-inch woofers. That makes sense. Version 1, version 2, version 3. But the 7, I don't know where they came up with that.
I don't know.
Like, we don't know. So I have loved the 7.3s, especially for movies. Movies are phenomenal. I think in music, the 1723s are going to give the edge because they're a 3-way design versus, and they've got dedicated mid-range versus the RF-73s. It's kind of interesting because you're trying to go from a compression horn and using a crossover to transition to a 10-inch woofer, for vocals. And so that was probably, if any area that it kind of lacks in is in that mid-range. And that's why I went with the Martin Logan F200s in my 2-channel setup, because they have a dedicated mid-range driver. And they just do better with vocals.
Those are great speakers.
Yep. Yeah. So honestly, again, Bob, I always try to recommend, if at all possible, try to find some way to hear both of them, or at least both brands, because they're going to sound different. A compression horn tweeter is going to sound drastically different than a soft dome tweeter.
Yeah.
So, all right, let me go back here. No, we did that one. Rich, Macintosh amps, 2000S versus a Buckeye Hypex Purify amps, mix of music and home theater. It's got Bowers and Wilkins speakers. So definitely I like putting power to Bowers and Wilkins. They're typically not super efficient, so they require a lot more power. Any tips or suggestions? I love those blue meters. Hey, that's why a lot of people buy it. So the age-old question, you know, super expensive Macintosh with the beautiful lights versus something that's a whole lot more affordable, like a Buckeye. I know where Ryan's going, probably. It's hard to beat Buckeye.
Save yourself some money. Get the Buckeyes. That's yeah. I don't even need to say anything else. The digital, well, I will. The digital amplification is going to be better. I know Macintosh makes digital amps, but you're paying for the name. I know the Macintoshes will last forever. The digitals should too. You're saving so much money by going with the Buckeyes, and you're going to get a lot more power and a lot better distortion spec.
And I wonder, like in a blind comparison, would you even be able to hear the difference between the two?
Probably not. And technically, the Buckeyes do have a blue LED on them. It's a dot, but it is blue. And it is there.
I love it. Yeah, Mikey says that. He says they have the blue LEDs on them. Yeah.
Somebody was asking which Buckeyes I have for sale. I have 3 of the 8-channel NC502s.
Magnetar or Kaleidoscape. I like the spelling of that one though. Cadeliscape?
Cadeliscape.
I like it. Two totally different, you know? I mean, I don't think video quality you're going to see any difference. I really don't.
No.
And I've tried to tell people from the beginning, it's like, if you're going to buy Kaleidoscape, there's a reason why you buy it. And to me, it comes down to convenience. It comes down to reliability. It comes down to access. There's a lot of different reasons. But I don't think it's going to be the, you know, you're looking at visual quality or even audio, you know, a change there. So, and that's
2 different platforms for 2 different solutions.
Yeah. You got to figure out what works best for you.
If I were in your position, well, the Kaleidoscape, even comparing to the what is it, the UP 900, the expensive Magnetar, it's still double the price, over double the price to get into Kaleidoscape.
Yeah.
But Kaleidoscape, I think, I would take a Kaleidoscape over a Magnetar, not even if they were the same price, because of what they do. My personal opinion.
JR, Ryan, are you taking pics of your home theater renovation? Great question, man.
I will. Nothing has changed. So we're starting demolition this weekend, and I'm going to take a before picture once we get everything out of the room. Hopefully, I'm hoping I get the renders back from Officina this week about what the room will theoretically look like. So there will be pictures of the process. There is a build thread on AVS. Just look for, you can search AVS forum, The Void in Google, and you'll find it. So I haven't updated in a while because there hasn't been anything to update. Hopefully we'll have some more stuff starting this weekend.
So Ryan, are you hiring somebody to do the construction part of it?
That part, yes. Frankly, I don't have time. One. And I don't like reinventing the wheel. So he's does commercial construction. He does drywall. So this is right up his alley. He's not hanging drywall. He's hanging OSB, but same premise.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hiring it out.
Cool. I would too. Through on 4 Carpenter, recommend me some home theater seats brands, not named Valencia, but in that price range. So we're probably talking $1,000 a chair to $2,000 a chair. Nothing huge like Jonathan's. What have you sat in?
Row 1.
What's that?
Row 1.
Those are typically a little bit wider though, right?
Yes.
They seem like they're just kind of more.
I don't think they're necessarily like Jonathan's, but row 1, who's the other one that's recommended a lot?
The Arvolution.
Yeah.
So those are less
audio advice. There's another one.
Not
for seating. Seatcraft.
I did sit in some Octane seats. Didn't like those. So the headrest was pretty firm, and I didn't like that. I like a cushiony headrest. So yeah. So And a lot of times when I go to home theaters, I mean, a lot of them are using. I mean, there's really like 3 main brands out there. So, yeah. Ike says row 1. Good to see Ike. Isn't the Revelation made by row 1 for audio device? I don't think so.
No idea.
Yeah, I don't think so. In my conversation with Scott, he never once mentioned row 1. So I don't believe they're the same, and they don't look anything like row 1. So yeah, I don't believe they have any correlation with row 1 that I'm aware of. Mad One Racing question: what are your thoughts on adding a portable AC unit to an audio cabinet versus having an exhaust fan? Space is limited, components closer together. He's got a 3 foot by 2 foot by 4 foot space.
Is it getting hot? If it's not retaining heat, I think you'd just be fine with keeping airflow over them if they're passively cooled to move the heat away from the component. If it is getting hot, you need some type of AC, whether that be
you can do those AC infinity fans.
Entry and then exhaust. Yeah, but AC infinity isn't actually AC. It's just fans.
No, it's just pulling heat away from the component.
Yeah. Depends on if he's having an overtly hot room. If it's overtly hot, he needs to think about some type of AC solution.
That's what you're saying. Yeah. So I didn't know what I get the yeah. Let us know, are you trying to reduce the heat in the room, or are you just trying to get the heat off of the equipment and you're concerned about that? If you're still here in the chat. MW says, do you have to do a calibration for MadVR?
No, but I would do one. The MadVR isn't going to magically calibrate your system. It's just going to take away the tone mapping responsibilities of the display. It's going to give you things like constant fit aspect ratio management, meaning it's not going to put anything to overscan using screen boundaries, custom zoom configurations to eliminate black bars if you want to, 8K up conversion from lower resolution content, motion, AI-based motion interpolation, artifact removal, deinterlacing, frame duplication, and then 256 point cubed interpolated points for calibration for 1D and 3D LUTs if you want to do that. So it's calibrating is going to be awesome. We need to talk about that after this stream before we call our buddy about skiing. I need to see if I can fix your problem. I think it may be a levels mismatch.
Okay. Yeah, you're wanting to jump on a call like right 30 minutes before the family Thanksgiving. I'm like, oh yeah, Jessica's gonna kill me. So probably not the best time. Chris says, I have a LG CX. While the picture is great, when in HDR, I feel like I can see the brightness adjustment trying to figure out, otherwise still image. Any way to improve?
That could be your dynamic dimming. It could be a dynamic brightness setting. So try and disable a bunch of settings that are like the dynamic settings and see if that problem goes away.
Chris says, so recently found out about the BenQ V5000i ultra short throw projector, which does pixel shift, 4K and 3D. Anyone hear of that one? So I haven't reviewed, I don't think any of the BenQ ultra short throws. So I'm not familiar with those. Have you, Ryan?
Nope.
Sorry, Chris. Don't have any experience on that, man. Josh says, running subs hot. Are you changing gain on the sub or levels in the AVR? So typically I would recommend increasing if you're going to increase the level, I would do it in the AVR. But kind of like what we were going back to earlier, if you're having to get into the plus to do that, then you're going to need to increase the gain on your subwoofers. So that's just my recommendation. What about yours, Ryan?
Start with the gain on the subs first.
Think so?
Yes, because if you're doing it in the AVR, you're increasing the voltage you can potentially clip.
True.
So you start with the gain on the subs, and that way you can keep the gain in the AVR lower so you don't induce clipping.
Okay. See, 2 different ways of doing it. I'm just always, after I run Odyssey, I'm always bumping it up, probably 5, usually about 5 dB, and I don't do it on the sub. I do it within the AVR, but I've never had any issues with it either. Dionysus Live, I'd like to buy it my LCR, so he's got B&W. Is it worth also doing it for my sides, rears, and Atmos? Since I have to purchase a second amp for configuration, currently running AVR and audio control amp.
I wouldn't buy amp your fronts.
See, I mean, I hate to say it. I just personally haven't ever really heard any difference in bi-amping.
What are you going to gain?
A lot of people, I say a lot of people, some feel that by providing separate amplification for the tweeters and the woofers provides a better experience. And
it's still the same crossover though.
I know.
The only way that works is if you're using an active speaker.
Yeah.
It gets combined anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Like I had a talk with Martin Logan about this, and it can actually be
like detrimental, maybe
theoretically worse if you did that. It's all getting combined by the crossover anyway. So I don't see that as beneficial at all.
Yeah.
Unless it depends on the speakers. Some speakers like the Neolith, I don't think that uses a combined crossover.
As maybe a separate one for each one.
I'd have to ask Martin Logan.
But typically they do. They share a combined crossover.
They do. Like if you did that to like an F200, a lot of speakers, once you get over a certain price threshold, have 4 binding posts.
Yeah.
But it's not helping anything. Like it doesn't, you're not benefiting in any way, shape, or form by doing this. So
you're adding a lot more complexity, a lot more cabling, a lot more amplification.
Not just complexity, you're making things way more expensive.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think you're going to benefit, from that. So
no, that you're going to benefit more instead of spending money doing that. Spend it on acoustic treatments.
I agree, 100% agree on that. Laverne says, why do I get a strong pop through my speakers from my Anthem MRX 740 receiver, and the receiver will sometimes shut off with a red light flashing and push the flashing light to turn it back on? So is he going into like protection mode?
Well, that
on
could
the
be
flashing part.
Things.
What's that?
Yeah, it seems like his amp's going into protection.
But the pop could be something different.
Static discharge. Static, I don't know. There's so many things that could be. What I would do is start unplugging things. If this happens regularly and frequently, I would start unplugging things and see
like 2 speakers,
what you unplug, or go backwards and start minimally with what Michael said, like 2 speakers, and then start adding things until that problem starts again.
I wouldn't recommend like unplugging it while everything's turned on.
No, don't do that.
Erod says, heard the bass in Oppenheimer. I think that's the question. So basically, have we heard the bass in Oppenheimer yet on our systems? No, I have not.
I have not either. I gotta wait for
the whole soundtrack. I've heard great things about the movie. Some
too.
people love the movie itself. Some people hate the movie, but pretty much everybody across the board said it's absolutely demo worthy. Even in the first minute of the movie, it's phenomenal. So it'll be added to my collection. Tarhoya Ryan, with Audiovice selling pre-owned NV Extreme Mark 1s now, is the Extreme Mark II noticeably better with the current features for the extra $6,000, or is it more future-proofing with extra horsepower?
It's more future-proofing. The Mark II is able to run more simultaneous algorithms, so you can get, like with Motion AI, to a higher level of Motion AI without dropping frames, and it is better to future-proof. It's got a 5-year warranty. You have the ability to upgrade buying the used units from Audio Advice, the Mark 1s. You're not able to upgrade if there's ever an upgrade that comes out. The chassis on the Mark II is much better. The cooling potential on the Mark II is much better. Depends on if any of that's worth it. If not, I mean, $6,000's a lot. So it depends on what you're trying to chase.
Sure.
Mark II is technically better.
Chris says, hello, what are your thoughts on the monolith 16-inch subs? They're phenomenal.
They're really good.
Yeah. Will it outperform a PB16? I don't know if I've seen anybody that's done any direct.
I think it will.
It's out there.
The monolith 16's got an insane amount of output.
Yeah, it's a beast.
But I'm only looking at the performance from an output perspective. I don't have any of the measurements or anything to talk about, like what we did with the persistence and the JTRs for group delay or decay or anything like that. So I can't talk about that. But the monolith, especially when they go on sale, that's a really good sub.
It's a big old boy too.
It's a big boy. I've heard some problems that they get damaged in shipping. So,
and that can be with anything.
Yeah, but I think they have some packaging issues.
Rich says 100 U8K UB820 from Panasonic. It's got a Onkyo RZ50. How would you wire for picture and audio straight from the 820 to the U8K? Any settings for time mapping? So
just UB820 to RZ50 to the projector.
Yeah, I mean, some people like to go like straight from the source to the projector. I've always used my AVR as a hub.
Unless there's some feature that your AVR can't do, there's no reason to do that.
Yeah, I like running everything into the AVR, let that be the hub, and then let it do the video switching out to the TV. As far as audio, I mean, honestly, there's no easy way for us to try to share in a 2-minute conversation on how would you get the best audio. As far as wiring, I mean, I would just use HDMI from the UB820 into the RZ50.
Yep.
Out to your speakers. So keep it simple. Rich, looking for suggestions to upgrade my in-ceiling Atmos speakers. Currently have the CDT 5800C and not happy with them.
What's the rest of your system?
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming if he's got clips speakers, he's got probably clips speakers as well. And he's still, that's a different Rich. That's Rich P.
Let's wait and see if he comes back. I don't want to answer that without having more info. Let's come back.
Mazin, I want to update I want to update from Yamaha. Didn't we do this one?
We did that one already.
Damn. Check it off the list. And Tony says Dali Aberon. So those are new for me. Dali Aberon 2S. So he's got a lot of Dali 5.1.4, Denon 3600, pre-pro, mid-range compensation on or off. I typically turn mid-range compensation off. Most speakers don't need that. Why did they come up with the mid-range and why is it always defaulted on? That's my question.
I don't know, because most people's speakers are suboptimal.
And it's wild, man.
Well, if you think about it, a lot of people have to like turn up their center channel to combat distortion because they can't understand what they're saying. Yeah, a lot of time that's because of distortion. So you got to compensate by increasing the mid-range, which is where a lot of vocals exist. And they do that, I think, to provide better clarity. Yeah. So if you got a good setup, turn it off.
Yeah. And I would do kind of going back to acoustic treatment, treat your room and do less DSP. Who would play Youth Man in a movie adaptation? I keep wondering. I don't know. Probably the goofy dude. I have no idea. Dan, you guys always say an 18 is like 2 15s, but how much X-Max play into this? If you have a 15 with twice the X-Max of an 18.
It can help if the X-Max is greater on the 15s.
I think most of the time, though, with 18s, you don't find many subpar 18-inch drivers. If you think,
I mean, they're out there.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no Sparkomatic 18s.
There are, but nobody's buying. I mean, we're not recommending.
There's no Jensen 18s. You know, it's like they're typically very, very well made, and they're made for extreme performance.
Well, from
Max.
From a pre-made perspective, like buying from a vendor and not DIY, you're getting into with 18s a certain price point. So yeah, you're not really getting subpar drivers.
Yeah, that's what I'm
so X-Max really doesn't play a huge role. But yeah, if you had a lot more X-Max on the 15s, you could potentially get more output. But I mean, you're compensating for surface area with excursion.
Let's see.
With more X-Max, I will say, the more X-Max you have, the more distortion you'll create.
So you don't necessarily want as much.
Ideally, no. I mean, that's why the 50 and the larger drivers is beneficial.
That joker doesn't even move, man. It
doesn't move.
It's
you gotta go touch it.
Yeah, you
and
gotta
the windows are like whoa, 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 and it's
the windows like flexing more than the sub is.
And then you look at its X-Max, and it's like some insane number, and I'm like, what would the room be doing if I was actually raising that? It's kind of scary.
Got 6 foot of X-Max. Oops, sorry. It says, can I not worry about compression drivers for a room that's only 11 by 12? Or are there other benefits besides volume? Don't want to replace 15 speakers just for the latest rage. My thought is, if you love your setup now, don't chase the FOMO. You know what I'm saying? If it plays as loud as you need it to in your room, if it sounds good, and if it's, it's providing you a great experience, I wouldn't touch it, man. There's no reason chasing the rabbit.
Well, and if you're not chasing the volume, there's not a big reason to. But there are benefits to compression drivers in the time domain because everything is coming from a centralized point. There's benefits in distortion.
Now, when you say that, though, a compression driver is, that's one speaker. So, like,
I'm typically compression drivers. I'm thinking coaxials.
Coax, right?
Yes.
So that's different. I think he's talking about just a compression.
He is, but typically when I think of compression drivers, I'm thinking people are usually transitioning to something like a coaxial when they're going from something to a compression driver. There's not too many speakers that are using compression drivers that are not in a coaxial format, unless it's big boy horns and yeah.
Okay. Yes. My first thought is, clips, because of course I've owned so many clips over the years, and some of their higher end do use the compression drivers like the RF73s.
But compression drivers do have their own things with horns and stuff. They do have levels of breakup, and some people like them and some people don't. And I'm not a huge fan of them, depending on what happens. Or what deployment they're utilized in. So as we always say, go listen to them.
Go listen, man. Because I love compression horns. I really do. Always have.
Don't.
So, and that's okay. It's okay for Ryan to be wrong. MW says, have you thought of moving MWAVE next year to a few days after CEDIA, so people flying over can hit 2 birds with 1 stone? Honestly, probably not.
And most of CEDIA is dealers and vendors.
Yeah.
And that would create some serious problems with moving equipment for the vendors.
Yeah.
I know because I deal with it.
It'd be quite difficult because Ryan sees both sides of this. He sees the vendor side. He sees, the consumer side. You kind of see all the sides. My goodness.
I see the enthusiast side. I see the vendor side, and I see the dealer side.
Yeah.
I'm one of the only people that sees it from every direction.
Yeah. And now an event coordinator side.
Yes. Too. So 4 sides.
So we see all the directions. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'd probably be real difficult. We intentionally want to separate it from, all right. So here would be the thought. Figure out what's important to you. CEDIA is going to be way bigger than MWAVE ever will be, probably. You're talking thousands of people, hundreds and hundreds of vendors.
Though there weren't as many people there this year as there were in past years.
Yeah, true. But I still think we're kind of like coming off the coattails of COVID.
Yeah.
And
we'll have to see how ISE is
here. So I think it'll continue to grow again.
Yeah, that's true.
But the reality is it's a different purpose. I really, really see that. And so just figure out like what you're looking for. So I think we definitely offer a ton more than what Cedia offers in, I mean, like, we just do different things, I guess. And you just got to figure out
it's more intimate.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to do comparisons. They're not going to give you home theater experiences, seminars, things like that. So, and you know, it's unless you got somebody that can get you in, or maybe you're a dealer yourself. So, all right, Big Swing. Hey guys, currently using some PSA sealed subs, have an opportunity to buy some used JTR subs. In your opinion, does the higher excursion driver on the JTRs add substantially more tactile feeling?
I'd have to look at the output capability of those PSAs. And with database gone, that's going to be tough.
And it's probably going to vary model to model. I had the 3611 as a dual opposing 18-inch sub. That was like one of the first real subs that I guess it was the first 18-inch sub that I ever heard. And it's a monster. But they don't make that particular model anymore. And I haven't heard the new, what do they call them? Yeah, Nicholas, I got to stop reading your comments, man. You're cracking me up. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I couldn't tell you the difference between them. And like Ryan said, I mean, without seeing some measurements between the two or having them in for review at the same time, to be able to take measurements myself, it'd be hard for me to.
And here's what I want people to understand is these. I like these questions, but please understand that Michael, myself, and Jonathan don't really like passing judgment unless we've experienced something. And even if we've experienced it, unless we've experienced both in an opportune way where we can discern objectively a characteristic that's being asked, we really don't like providing information on it because it's all opinion, and opinions can impact the industry. So we don't want to negatively impact anyone with any type of information unless we're 100% sure that our objective data is as close to real as possible.
Now, I can tell you this, both Tom with PSA and Jeff, JTR, both phenomenal guys, great engineers, and they both make phenomenal products. But yeah, as far as how they directly compare, I don't think I could do that without having them in for review and actually doing some measurements side by side. Bruce says, question, I've already talked to Jonathan about this, but I have 8 JBL 8320s. You two said to stick with the same brand. What JBL speakers would be a matching-ish LCR to these speakers? Number one, I'm not familiar with JBL. As far as what models and what to recommend there. So Jonathan would be, what's that?
No, they're not. Those are the hanging on ceilings.
Matching LCR. Do you know
those are more like pro speakers? No. I don't know.
Yeah, I probably would just lean on Jonathan. I think he's got.
Theoretically, you could use those JBLs as LCRs.
The 8320s.
They're not very big, but they've got some output. They should match fairly well with most JBLs with that horn driver. So
he says matching-ish. Yeah.
I don't know.
And Big Swing was saying that he was just curious on what our gut feeling was. He likes his PSA subs.
I think they would match fairly well with everything JBL has if they're using a compression-driven horn. Or they soft dome. Oh, they are a soft dome. No, they're soft dome.
Oh, so they're not a horn?
The voicing should be similar, though, I think. I don't know. I don't have any experience with those speakers, so I have no idea.
Is channel bleed through normal in a Marantz Pre-Pro?
No. Maybe in the older stuff.
Have people measured that, or is that where they're getting the question from?
I have never heard. Maybe you can measure it, but I've never heard it.
Yeah. Does anyone know, or let me put it up here. Aaron says, does anyone know much about the Denon A1H?
It's a great AVR. It's a big boy.
Channel, right?
It's
16 channel?
I don't remember. 15 or 16 with 4 sub outs.
A1H.
It has full ability to amplify itself. It weighs like 80 pounds.
15 channel.
It's
15
a Haas.
Yeah.
Again, I have one. It really needs to find a home. It's open box. Please, somebody want it.
Shoot Ryan an email. There you go. Drop him an email.
I mean, I'm not giving it away, but it's if you're in the market, it may be worth your time.
Bruce Barnes, what is the difference between turning up the trim 5 dB versus turning up the volume 5 dB? Oh, good, interesting question.
The same.
Number one, if you turn the volume up 5 dB, you're turning up
everything,
like all the channels. The trim allows you to do individual speakers and individual subwoofer. So unless you're going through and increase, so theoretically, if he were to go into the trims and increase all of the trims 5 dB,
it would
how
do
would
the
that
same
differ?
thing.
I mean, is there any difference there in the volume?
No.
Okay. So probably easier just to do the volume if you're doing everything at once. JP says, at Youthman, thoughts on the SVS 3000 in walls? Have you heard them? I have not heard them. I had an interview with Nick at SVS 2 years ago at CEDIA, and that's when they introduced them. I think they've got dual 8s, if I remember correctly. I went with 4 of them for our new theater. The wife wanted in walls this time, understandably. So you're having 2, 4, 6. You've got 8 8s. So you should get, pretty decent output on those. But as far as like how they're going to sound, I don't know.
I have a buddy that has them and he loves them. They're not going to deliver like in-room subs, but it's a compromise. You're trading for aesthetics. I mean, that's part of the compromise.
Ike said that's right. Ike, I think you have 2 pair, right? Well, I say pair. You have 2 of those subwoofers. So you have 4 of them in your room. He said he's got them. He loves them.
Good.
And
go
name
ahead.
it. Let us know. Remind us how big your room is. So
here's a follow-up to that question about clipping.
Okay.
The trim it versus volume. And he said that was actually a question for the follow-up for clipping. Why would trim cause clipping, but volume won't? They both will.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. If you're pushing the amplifier too hard, either direction, whether it's trim or volume, it's going to get into distortion.
Or not even if you push the amplifier too hard, if you run out of voltage, you're gonna clip.
Yeah. All right. So we still got quite a few. Nicholas, we can't get big subs in Australia. I think
we did that one already.
Check these for me, man, because I just click them. Dionysus, we did that one. Man. Frank V. Hey, Ryan, why are you switching to sealed subs in your new theater? Are you crazy? What's going on there, man?
Go deeper. Once you've tasted the single digits, it's hard to not want the whole thing.
But you're currently getting single digits, right?
With 9.
Yours? Okay.
I'm dipping the toe.
He wants further down. I'm getting 5 in my room. So what do you think?
It depends on what volume you're saying you're getting 5.
No, mine are flat to 5, bro.
I know, but you're probably not flat to 5 at 110.
I'll have to measure it one day.
Yeah, because you can be flat at 85, but going up, you're probably not.
Well, I mean, I've got, I know I've done 110, I think. Flat to 5 at 110.
Well, there you go. That would be good.
I'm pretty sure. Because I have got, let me just look real quick on my channel. I think it was called JTR RS2 output, maybe. I search for that. So I'm getting at one measurement, I was 115 dB at 8 hertz.
Okay, that's good.
So, all right, uncheck that one. Biamping still a thing. Yes, it's still a thing. Don't recommend it. I don't think it does much. Bob, if I didn't say this earlier, thank you so much for the 729. I think I did, but just in case, wanted to say thanks again. Sunny, thoughts on post room calibration adjustments like level matching, impulse alignment through a source utilizing the current calibration file, so not AVR pink noise.
So this is kind of a double-edged sword. Yes, it can be beneficial in the main listening position to do this, but remember, the room EQ software is typically not just considering one main listening position. It's trying to equalize across multiple positions. So that's why a lot of times things are not equal. It's trying to make the best summation of everything it can. So if you're looking at absolute main listening position benefits, potentially, but always keep in mind that there's pros and cons to everything. So if you time align things for the main listening position, you're potentially throwing things more and more out for your outlying seats. Same for SPL matching, etc.
I just saw Aaron in the chat. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well, buddy.
Hi, Aaron.
He says, "That's not what she said."
Maybe she did.
Hey, I don't know. All right, next question. AJ says, I have all per listen speakers for bed layer, but Martin Logan EM1Cs for the ceiling speakers. Martin Logan's measure well, but are a bit brighter than the per listens. Benefit of upgrading to per listen in ceilings.
I think the per listen in ceilings are potentially going to be more capable if you're listening at higher volumes, and they will timbre match. So yes, but how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? That's the main question. Yes, it would be better, but is it worth it financially for you to do?
Charlie says, two-part question. Are wides worth it at this time, or just wiring during my build to maybe add later? So let's answer that one first. You a fan of wides?
Yes.
I've never used them in my theater room because I don't really have the
Jonathan
space.
and I really like them. I like wides.
Okay. And 4 versus 6 Atmos. We've talked about this a lot on the channel or on the podcast. Install now or just wire for a later upgrade. Room is 15 by 13 with 7-foot ceilings. So your room is actually smaller than mine. I absolutely do not believe that 6 Atmos speakers are necessary in a 13 by 15 room for sure. My room's 13 wide by 19 deep, and I still feel like 4 is plenty sufficient for my room. So, and you're probably only gonna have 1 row of seating. I have 2 rows of seating, but my rear row is up against the back wall, so they don't even really get the Atmos experience anyway. So, yeah, I don't think you're going to benefit. And Jonathan's even shared, I mean, sometimes adding 6 is a detriment to the sound.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I definitely don't think you need it, Charlie. I would stick with 4. Aaron says, evening gents, would I be crazy to move from my Denon 8500 to the A1H? If you're going to upgrade from the 8500 to something else, what would it be? Currently running 7.2.6 system currently. So my first question is, what do you feel that your 8500 isn't providing you? I mean, is there something physical? Is there a feature that you don't have? Are you planning on upgrading, adding more speakers? You know, those types of things. What do you feel that you're missing? I guess would be my first question.
I think the A1H has more channels. I don't know
So
if his
again-
8500 has HDMI 2.1.
Mhm.
If it's newer, it does.
Mhm.
Dirac. I don't know. Yeah, you asked a good question. Why are you thinking about upgrading? Let us
It's
know.
easy for us to just say, "Oh yeah, it's an awesome AVR," which it is. It's a beast. It's a hoss. But does your 8500 provide everything that you need? I mean, some people go chasing a
More
better
sub
AVR,
house.
more expensive, you know, and sometimes it's just you're not going to hear much of a difference. So
If you really want HDMI 2.1 and you can use those subs outs, then yeah, potentially. And the 8500 will still fetch a pretty good mark on the used market. So in that context, if that's worth the money to you, potentially.
Yep. And again, it kind of goes back to features. What are you looking for? What are your needs? And just take a look at both of them. Jay. Oh, you know what? Let me come back to you, Jay, real quick. I did see a super chat come in. JR, appreciate the $5 super chat. If you moved out, would you sell the home with all of the home theater or take it with you? Love the live streams. Keep it up. Appreciate the kind words, man. Me personally, I would take it all. I would probably take it all with me, honestly. Things like the screen I may not take because mine's built into the wall. It's custom. So I'd probably leave that. But like my projector, I mean, my speakers, absolutely, I'd be taking them all down. All my amplification. I mean, Ryan, he likes to just sell it and buy new ones, but
Yeah, but I'm in a different position because I'm a dealer. So from an enthusiast perspective, that can be hard because if you sell it with the house, you potentially can lose a lot of money, right? Because then you have to buy everything new again. And it depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, if you're contemplating already starting over, yeah, it could be an easy way to liquidate. But on the opposite side of that, it can also be a significant sink of money.
I
So I
think
see
it's
it
one of
both
those
ways.
things. Yeah, I just don't think most people value that. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a bonus. It's not going to add value to your home, if that makes
To
sense.
the right person, it would, but
It can, but it's kind of like a pool. It can either be an asset or a liability.
well, it's like cars with mods on them.
Yes,
Mods
correct.
don't really add any value.
Correct. Yeah. So to me personally, I'd be bringing it with me, you know, because I love my equipment. I love my room. I've worked hard over the past 14 years to get to this point. Why would I want to start over? And I would, for the most part, I'd be buying the same stuff. Like I don't see me going anything higher than the NZ7 right now. I'm sorry, NZ8. I mean, I've got MAV VR. I wouldn't be changing that out. I wouldn't be going probably to the Mark II. My theater seats, I really don't want to change those, you know. So to me, it would be coming with me. So now if I had, let's say for instance, if I had a really old projector, maybe a 1080p projector, and I had some old theater seats, yeah, I'd probably honestly just leave it with a home. But if you've got pretty current stuff, stuff that you've worked over a period of years to get and obtain and save up and buy, nah, I wouldn't myself. Okay, so he said, "Oops, meant Denon 3800H Onkyo RV." Okay,
He asked this twice, but he misspelled something. So he's asking, should I buy the 3800 or the RZ50? I personally like Denon over Onkyo because of their reputation.
Yeah, it's just more solid right now, you know. And Onkyo, so Onkyo used to be the go-to back when I started this, and at least my build here in this home was about 15 years ago. Onkyo was like they were the best bang for the buck. They had the most feature set. They were very reliable. And then they kind of went off the map for a while. We didn't hear about them. And then they finally started coming back with the RZ50. So I just don't know if they've got the long track record right now of, you know, where they're at in the market.
Not yet.
But I mean, I'm grateful that it does have Dirac. So
it keeps everything competitive. More competition is good, but I would still buy Denon.
Yep. That's pretty solid. Eric says, would you recommend bi-directional surround speakers? So I'm assuming by bi-directional, you're talking about like bipolar, that kind of design. old technology, would you happen? What would happen if turning 90 degrees, so directing sound down, up? I'm not real sure what your question is.
I'm not either.
If you're talking about biamping, or I'm sorry, let me back up. You can tell it we've been on this for almost 3 hours. If you're talking about bipolar design, I rocked that for many years in my home theater. And part of that was back 15 years ago, that was the recommendation, at least for your side surrounds.
Yep.
Some people were still doing it on the rear surrounds. Some were doing what we call direct radiating, where you just got sound going straight in one direction for your rears. But I had them all around. I just wanted a really immersive experience, and I got that. With the advent of Dolby Atmos, really the recommendation is having just direct radiating speakers. So I'm not sure it's an old technology. It's just the formats of the codecs that we're using now and the processing for Dolby Atmos, DTSX, Aural 3D, and so forth. I think you'd probably get a better sound just going with a traditional straightforward firing versus a bipolar design.
The only time I recommend something like a bidirectional or bipole or dipole is if they're seating very close to the speaker.
Yeah. And that
because then
sense.
It's more difficult to localize. You don't have hot spotting as much.
Sure.
That's really the only time I'll recommend them now.
Yeah. So like say in my case, if your seat is right up against your rear wall, so I could see that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, not that.
What you got? Can someone please send a link to Ryan's channel or email ryan@ascendav.net. This is direct email. We did that one. Buzz has a question. Buzz says, my two rears 7.3.4. You know what? Let me do something real quick before I don't see it anymore. I just want to tag something. Ryan, read that one if you don't mind. I'm going to go back and
my two rears 7.3.4 are too far from the first row. Would it be correct to compensate with more volume? I've run Dirac. If they're low in volume, yes, you need a uniform experience all the way around. Now, as I said previously, they may not be equal because I don't know what your theater's like and I don't know what your seating's like. Dirac may be trying to compensate for more seating positions. Sometimes it can also get it wrong depending on where your measurement mic was. So maybe they're really low. Ideally, you want all of your speakers to be the same SPL.
Oh, he just tagged it. I was going to type it in there. We'll mention that one in a second. Okay, so back to Buzz. Sorry about that, Buzz. Oh, you just did that one. Sorry.
Yeah. And Bob, that if you fill out that form at MidwestAVExperience.com/sales, it'll come to me.
Here we go. So what was this Ryan website? Like your personal website?
I don't know. He was just asking a question about it. It's ascendav.net.
Ryan, are you going to do waveforming in your new theater?
At this point, not right now. I've always found that room EQ, including waveforming, has some issues with low frequency, like ultra low frequency. The vendors that I've talked to seem to agree with that. So it's not planned right now. The theater in its design should be able to do it, but it's not planned at the moment. That'll just be a calibration thing.
Curtis says, I'm having trouble finding a receiver that is great with channel separation. I'm not big on the 8K or the 4K 120, so he doesn't care about HDMI 2.1, and I would say under $2,000. So less than $2,000 AV receiver recommendation.
I mean, if you're having trouble finding a receiver with great channel separation, my guess is you're buying one, testing it, buying another one, testing it, and your subjective bias is getting in the way of your test results. You're expecting it to fail, and therefore you're making it fail. That's just what I think is psychologically happening. If you put these directly next to each other and take room EQ out of the equation, they should sound identical. And they will. I've done enough of these that you shouldn't, unless an AVR is intentionally changing the sound, it should sound the same.
Yeah. Yeah. EQ is where it can really change, and I know a long time ago I did
room.
but I swapped out an AVR for a processor, and I didn't think that I would hear any difference, honestly. And me and my friend both felt that we heard more distinct, and that's where I've always coined that as channel separation, where I could tell. It's almost like I'm hearing more information from each individual channel. That's what I refer to as channel separation. I don't know if that's what you really call it. That's just the way I've always described it. But the reality is, I know this, and even going into it, I'm thinking one definitely could EQ it differently than the other, because I'm running Odyssey on one, running the same version of Odyssey on the other. But we know that you can run Odyssey, run it again, put the mic in the same positions, and it can still EQ differently each time you run it.
Yeah.
So that could have changed. And so maybe on the processor, it did a better job than with the other one.
And that's not just limited to Odyssey. They all do that.
Last couple questions here. We're going to wrap it up, man. We're just over 3 hours. So appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Johnny E, what's up, Youth Man? Ryan, looking forward to hanging out with you guys at MWAVE next year again. Question, what processor would you go with? Marantz AV10 or Anthem AVM 90? About the same price. So again, my vote, I think I would go with the Marantz AV10 just because of reliability. But I've heard great things about the AVM 90. There are definitely some people that were having some issues with, like, just some small bugs and such, but they, really like it. So
AV10.
Yeah.
And like the A1H, I got an open box. I'll even throw in the multi EQ X app for you.
Uh-oh. Reach out to him, Johnny. All right. Yeah. It's great hanging out with you, man. We've hung out at Audio Device Live and as well as MWAVE. So it's always fun connecting with you. Herbs says, either one of you had any experience with Focal? Yeah, a few times. We had Focal this past year at MWAVE. So I would love to have them back again. Have you ever been to Nebraska Furniture Mart? I have not. So I can't,
But they were at MWAVE.
Right. But I think he was saying like they're set up and Focal there and everything. So I haven't been there.
But we've heard Focal quite a few times.
Yeah, I've heard we've
heard the Utopias. We've heard the Utopia Maestros. We've heard any number, the Focal Arias, the what did they have at MWAVE? The Vestias. I mean, we've heard a bunch of stuff. They're good speakers.
Some people describe them as a little bright. So depending on, and again, I always tell you, go hear them for yourself to see if it's a sound that you're looking for. Because every speaker is going to sound different.
Got to go listen to
them. Herc Gyre, do DACs used in a pre-pro make an audible difference?
No.
Say you put an AVM 70 against a Storm or Trinov purely for sound, not functionality.
No.
And it's weird because that's one of those, a lot of people, man, they'll live and die. This DAC, this has the Burr Brown DACs, or this has this DAC. And so
unless it's intentionally coloring the audio, it won't matter.
Yeah.
DACs have gotten so good, even the cheap DACs, if you put them side by side, you won't be able to tell the difference. It's the room EQ. It's the room itself. If you're using tube amps or a tube pre-stage or any of that stuff, then yes, tubes color the sound. But if you're comparing two DACs, no.
Okay, cool. So here's Oprah says that the 90 bugs are fixed. That's great to hear. So, and that's the cool thing about firmware and some of these companies that have just really done well with their AVRs and processors is, they fix them relatively quick. So there's only one company, I don't want to mention it. They just tend to struggle with their processors, and it takes them a long time to fix them, and sometimes they never get them all fixed. So JP says he loves his AV10, so that's super cool. And yes, Brian, we are still going at 3 hours, 4 minutes, and 47 seconds.
Both these last ones have been really long.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But you guys are, and I mean, you're asking some great. Ryan, I did not name drop anything, bro. Why you got to throw him under the bus like that?
Michael never said that.
I did not. Curtis, come on, man. You guys are killing me. I was trying to be nice. So, but I mean, I'm just sharing my experience. I love the company. I think they make great amplifiers, but just the processors are a struggle. So Tarhoya has a great point. He says, just don't do the beta updates with Anthem. Let them figure it out. Makes sense. So what was the final decision on the movie?
The Green Knight.
The Green Knight. Man, easy. Oh, goodness. You guys are killing me. Last week's show was great. Learned so much. Good, man. Throw my burden on you for sure, man. Well, cool deal, guys. Well, this has been a fun 3 hours with you. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Hopefully it's been just entertainment, but also educational, because that's really what we want to do, is help you build your home theater, answer your questions, provide as much context and knowledgeable information. And so that's why I've got these other guys on here. I think it's always great to have different perspectives, because you'll find that sometimes Ryan and I don't agree on things, and that's totally okay. And I think that's one thing that we try to kind of emphasize with my channel, is that it's okay if you like Marantz versus Anthem, or this versus that. I think we all can still maintain great relationships and have varying opinions. If you're someone that says, man, I hear a difference with cables, that's great, dude. You and I can still be great friends. It doesn't matter to me. I have a different opinion. Same thing with this biamping. It's totally cool, man. If you hook up biamping and you're like, dude, this sounds amazing, go for it. So we'll try to share, as best information that we can based on what we've experienced. And Ryan was right. I don't like giving advice on things that I personally haven't experienced in my home or in somebody else's home. So, but cool deal, man. I'm just looking over the last couple of things. Man, Nicholas, you got to get off. You need to go enjoy some spooning on your own time or something, because you mentioned that way too many times during this past 3 hours, man. Oh my golly, that's hilarious.
I'm all for it.
Hey, do whatever, man. Whatever floats your boat. Well, cool, guys. Love and appreciate y'all. Don't forget, we do have the VIP experiences that are going live for MWAVE. That is going to be on December the 1st. And so that'll be at noon Eastern time. Tickets are going live. You can go to the website, MidwestAVExperience.com, go to attend, and then the home theater experiences option down there is like the second from the drop down. And you'll find access to 8 different home theaters that you can experience at MWAVE 2024. And I would, oh my God, I got to stop reading the comments. You guys are cracking me up. Wow, that was funny. But anyway, dates for MWAVE 2024, June the 21st through the 23rd. We would love to have you there. It's going to be incredible. A lot of you guys in the chat came this past year, and we're anticipating even more people this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do some fun stuff, some new stuff, and we're going to have a blast. Ryan, any other thoughts?
Nope.
If you guys need any home theater equipment, you can always reach out to us at MidwestAVExperience.com/sales. And Ryan and I both get the email. So Ryan's a dealer for just a bunch of different brands. He's great to work with, and he'll treat you right, make sure that you're taken care of. And he's not going to try to sell you something that you don't need. And that's what's cool. And so we respect that. And And oh, and one last thing, Cody, appreciate the $2 super chat. He said these streams are great. So I appreciate it, man. But you guys are awesome. So I'm thankful for you. Appreciate you hanging out with us for the past 3 hours. So we will catch you next week after we watch The Green Room.
Green Knight.
That's what it said, The Green Knight. You got to read my mind, not my lips. All right, guys. Y'all have a great week. Take care.
See you guys later.
I don't know what's up with the silverware.